And welcome back to Pixels and Pints. We are here on a lovely sunny Sunday afternoon, which completely negates any lights that I have up in my recording studio.
Yeah, I haven't even bothered turning mine on.
Look at this. Daylight hours.
Daytime drinking.
Fuck that. Oh, no, definitely that. It's just a little duo today. You've got myself, Tom, and of course, Peter.
Howdy.
And we're just going to talk about the usual shenanigans we get up to, some video games, some trailers, some deep dive into the Microosft versus FTC, and all the gossip that's come with that. It's very exciting stuff.
All the bullshit.
We'll do a few little mini reviews. Some kind of most of them are like halfway season reviews, which is kind of a bit interesting,
a bit weird. Yeah,
and then we'll talk about some things that piss us off in video games later for the greater part of the second part of this episode. So, yeah, that's us. That's us. Let's go. Full steam ahead.
That's us.
Pow pow. Crack a beer.
Let's start with beer. I might go first, give you a chance to crack yours. Actually, I haven't even really tasted it, so that didn't work out in anyone's favour, really.
Well, that's all right. You have a taste while I fill in the gap with this lovely pour. Oh,
tis lovely.
What are you having?
My first beer is Reckless Brewing's Red IPA.
We haven't even planned it.
To start with.
We haven't even planned it.
I'm going to be going reds and browns today, I think. So this is 6.5%. Better red than dead, we reckon, which is why we've packed this red IPA fit to burst with the mosaic and citra hops woven around a full malty base. And that is exactly what you get.
Yes, good.
Yeah, it does exactly what it says it should on the can. It's just mosaic and citra with kind of molasses caramel notes, I guess, but quite high in bitterness, which is what you'd expect out of a red. It's a lovely red, like dark red brown color, and it's pretty fucking good.
Excellent.
But you do get a solid hop hit, a lot of bitterness in the mid body, and then it finishes with that kind of that malty red. I want to say molasses, but it's not at all sweet. It actually finishes quite dry, but you get that kind of flavor hit.
The toffee?
Yeah, toffee, molasses. I guess it's all kind of in the same spectrum of flavor profile, but without the sweetness. Like I want to stress, it's bitter and dry as fuck.
Yeah, good.
But yeah, no, excellent. I'm going to give that a big 4 to start.
Ooh, how exciting. Well, indeed. While I said we didn't plan this, Peter cracked his Reckless Brewing Red IPA, because I have also chosen a Reckless beer to start the episode off. Instead, I'm having the BX Old, which is basically their rip-on 2 is old. It is a dark, mild ale that comes in at 4.4%. It's a lovely printed on, assuming East Coast, yep. Yeah, as Dan would want to know. But it's a nice shiny, you can kind of see shiny reflective gold in there. Look at that. Lovely.
Lovely.
Yeah. So this is a nice sessionable dark beer, which is always what you want. It is got a nice, like, rich, roasty kind of malt base in there. There's a bit of sweetness to it, not a whole lot. It's very pleasant. It does pour, dark as the night, which is fantastic. Incredibly moreish. Like, I had one little sip and I'm ready to guzzle this down. Yeah, you would definitely be going back for a second or third pint of this if you were sitting out in the freezing tundra that is Bathurst, or you ascend the mountain. Yeah, I'm going to give that also a solid 4. Well done, Reckless.
Nice.
2
Very nice.
Straight off the bat.
I've got a few Reckless in the fridge today, but we'll see how we go. I got Bad Shepherd next.
Ooh.
So I'm doing a couple of reds, and then I'm going to do a couple of browns.
Lovely. They say some coffee in this. I'm not getting a smack of coffee. It's definitely there in the roasty, like, malt notes, but probably for the better. You wouldn't want too much, like, coffee bitterness in this. But yeah, this is.
Yeah,
you see this. You tip
into real dark stout kind of territory too easily with too much coffee.
Yeah. Oh, goddamn! Going back for more.
Das ist good. Shall we kick off with some news?
Yeah, let's dive into this Microosft versus FTC big fight. This is bigger than Zuckerberg versus Musk, I'm telling you now.
We interrupt this broadcast with some breaking news from the front.
Although there's been some movement in that space recently too, with Zuck finally, like I think it's his first Twitter post in several years. He put up the two Spider-Man,
the Spider-Man point off, yeah. After
anyway.
what are these threads? Is that it? That's the Twitter killer 3.0.
And the other thing is, apparently the only reason we didn't get a new Ahsoka trailer was because Musk recently made more Twitter changes that basically broke Twitter, and that is the only reason we don't have an Ahsoka trailer. They just decided, well, why? Like millions and millions of people can't access Twitter feeds at the moment, and it's crashing, and people aren't seeing a whole lot of. Why would we drop a really important trailer in the midst of all that bullshit and have like 90% of our audience not see it?
Yeah,
good call, but fucking frustrating.
So how we old school, go back to the YouTubes. Oh dear.
So how we ended up in this pissing contest between those two people. Anyway.
Oh, yeah. Well, I hope it actually ends up as a pissing contest and they're just pissing on each other because they piss me off.
Coming full circle, back to pissing contests, FTC versus Microsoft.
Yeah. The funniest thing for me is the first bit I put in there, which is Sony needs to learn how to redact properly. Obviously, they haven't employed anyone from the CIA or FBI in the last 20 years to help them because by all accounts, they just took a Sharpie to it for these financial documents. And when they scanned them in for the court, it shone right through and you could see all these financial notes that they were trying to keep probably hidden. Some significant figures in there, especially around development costs of some of their bigger releases recently. So Horizon Zero Dawn Forbidden West cost them 212 million US over 5 years, and they had 300 employees working on it.
Wow.
Last of Us 2 development was 220 million. Same time period, 200 employees. This is the one that blew me away. Call of Duty, each release, maybe I think it's as a collective, is worth US 15.9 billion to Sony and PlayStation.
Jesus Christ.
15.9 billion.
And now you can understand why Sony is so strongly fighting the whole Microsoft purchase of Activision Blizzard.
Especially on that, Sony have said that they have over 1 million users who only use their PlayStations to play Call of Duty. So there's 1 million people out there with a PlayStation who only put Call of Duty games onto it. Which
is mind blowing in itself, right?
That's some sort of they need serious help. There's so many other good titles on any of these systems.
Yeah, it's mind blowing that you could buy a console and only play one game permanently. I mean, Dan comes close with Witcher, but that's a multi console.
But decision. I think he also is playing it over multiple consoles and PCs as well. So that counts. But that's astonishing. 15.9 billion, especially when the gaming industry, I think last year it was 240 billion globally. So for that chunk of it to be 16 billion of that to be just for Call of Duty for PlayStation. It's insane. It's insane. And I remember, working at EB Games and working a launch night for Call of Duty, and it was a party. It was just full of people waiting at the door, champing a bit to get it to rush home to start their grind to prestige. So it's still a phenomenon after what 15, 16, 20 years, how long it's been going on.
Have to be 20, surely.
Yeah. So that's some crazy fucking figures.
And I'd be interested to know what the margin on a PS5 is. It was reported way, way back, and I've been Googling in the background while you've been talking. Back in 2021, they had broken even on PS5 and were then into profit area. So they are making a slight profit on the actual hardware sale, the console sale.
Yeah.
Notwithstanding all of the, with Call of Duty, all of the controllers that you'd burn through. If you're playing competitively, as soon as you get drift, controller goes in the bin, you buy another one.
Yep.
And that's where they're making money off all the accessories. So over 1 million people constantly replacing controllers, adding peripherals, competitive. I mean, that's why you've got a $450 fucking 450 option, $450 option for your professional controller now. They're making a fuckload out of that.
Absolutely.
So you can understand why they're fighting the acquisition.
It goes, we've got a few points on this. It goes on. So Phil Spencer, who's the head of Xbox for those playing at home, has said in this recent trial, so the FTC won we talked about this last episode, they won their appeal to extend the time they had to review it. So this all kind of went to trial around the 23rd of June. So he said in, I think it was day 1 or 2 of that trial, Microsoft have lost the console wars to Sony and Nintendo. So that's good. So people can stop going on about that because it's always been a pretty dumb thing. It's just buy whatever console you like. They're at this stage, they are all relatively the same. There are some slight differences, but, especially between the Xbox and the PS5 in that scape. The one I think I felt a bit bad for you.
Really made
you. So Microsoft said they acquired Bethesda after learning Starfield was originally going to be a PS exclusive. So that would have been nice if it hadn't been an exclusive, and then you don't have to get your little mini fridge to play it.
But it just goes to show that these developers, and I'm not picking on Microsoft here, both of them are prepared to buy whole studio houses to block out, to either stop exclusivity or create exclusivity.
Yeah.
Like it's exactly what we as consumers should have been worried about from the start, or have been worried about from the start. It's the exact behavior we were worried was going on, and this kind of confirms it.
Oh, 100%. Like a bunch of the execs on both sides have come out and said exclusivity is stupid. We hate it. It's detrimental to the business. Like we never should have gone down that road, but it's kind of too late now to turn around. It's like, is it too late to turn around now? Like,
but Microsoft buying Bethesda was not a small amount of money to spend. And if they're saying they did that primarily because of Starfield, that's an excruciating amount of money to buy one video game.
Yeah. Well, if the FTC wins, and the deal doesn't go through, it's already going to cost Microsoft like $3 billion because they have to pay back Activision, or so. I don't know. There was a lot of jargon on there, but
I just looked it up. It's $7.5 billion Microsoft spent on the Bethesda acquisition.
Yeah. So if
there's no fucking way they're making. There's no way they're making that money back on Starfield though. So it's that might have been the straw that broke the camel's back in terms of acquisition. But you think about all the other IP. I mean, Fallout makes a fuck ton of money.
Yeah.
Skyrim, everyone's waiting for the next Elder Scrolls game. And that is really, they're a 3-trick pony when you think about it. Star Citizen's the first net new IP in like 20-something years, I think they said.
Starfield, not Star Citizen.
Starfield, sorry. Keep getting confused.
Star something. Star Trek, Star Wars.
Star something.
Yeah.
But yeah, between Fallout and the Elder Scrolls, that's been Bethesda's intellectual property for forever.
Yeah.
So Starfield represents the first net new one for a while. Anyway.
And the Activision side of it with the Call of Duties and all the other things that they publish is obviously that's a big money draw card for them. But if it doesn't go ahead, then, or if it gets blocked, then there's something about like Microsoft will owe Activision for failing to meet the terms of the deal. They'll owe them like $3 billion or something.
Well, now that it's public, you've got to, because all of these are publicly trading companies, right? So there'd be a fine involved in announcing it and then pulling out because it has a massive impact on shareholder value for both sides of that acquisition.
Yeah.
Right. So there's got to be penalties paid out to the shareholders to say, well, now the acquisition's not happening. We're not going to convert those shares to MS. Or I'm not sure how the deal's structured, but that's typically how it would happen. So I'm not surprised there'd be fines or, pay out costs.
Backing out of deal costs or anything, but on Activision, if the deal does go ahead, Sony has stated they will not be sharing progress details of the PS6
of course not.
It'd be too close to home or to the enemy.
So just on that, so I don't know if we explained that well. So in order to allow game studios to best tweak their game for individual console hardware. When you're coming up to the next generational release of a console platform, quite frequently the Sony and Microsoft and Nintendo will share the specs of their next platform before it's made public to those game houses so they can tweak their hardware settings for the next generation.
Yeah.
These days, that's relatively easy to do because most game hardware, like certainly the Xbox Series S and X and the PS5, are basically PCs. They use NVIDIA or ATI graphics cards. They use, standard CPUs. Nothing's really proprietary anymore other than the actual mainboard layout. So it's quite easy to build a PC to the exact spec of an Xbox or a PlayStation next gen just by knowing what the specs are. But obviously, you wouldn't hand that out to the studio building Call of Duty if that studio was now owned by the fucking competition. Because
your direct competitor,
now you're telling your direct competitor what your next gen hardware spec is. And we saw the pissing contest going on between Microsoft and Sony in the PS5 and Xbox Series X lead up to launch.
Yeah.
And everyone was speculating as who's going to have the better spec. So that's material really to the conversation.
But would they in that, because would they, because they sent out those developer units of the console before that, would that be sharing those specs before they send out those developer
units?
Assume so.
I would assume so. Yeah, because before you're building out, before you're at a point where you build a dev unit, you've already finalized what spec it's going to be on paper.
Yeah,
because those demo units or those development units are produced en masse, like they're making 1 million of them. So by the time they're buying them or building them, they would have had to have settled on the hardware spec well before that.
Yeah, right. Oh, well, there we go. That's a little bit on that.
I love the next little tidbit.
Well, this is you put this in, yeah.
Yeah. So Microsoft seems to have accidentally revealed on behalf of PlayStation that the PS5 Slim's on its way.
And potentially PS5 Pro, I think I read on that as well.
I didn't see the Pro.
I don't know what it'd follow suit.
It would. I just don't know. I mean, the PlayStation 5 hardware spec is pretty fucking good. I don't know what they would cram into a Pro, but certainly they mentioned the upcoming PlayStation 5 Slim when they were talking about the price points of various game consoles. And so they were basically said that it was the PS5 Slim would be pitched at the same price as the digital only version of the PlayStation 5 and roughly the same cost as they were talking about low cost versions of their consoles. So the Series S was pitched at about the same price as a Nintendo Switch and is actually cheaper than the Switch OLED. So anyway.
And then the last little bit of this, because we'll leave it until we hear of an actual ruling, which they said should be out in the next week or so. The judge will have finally deliberated on it. But Elder Scrolls 6, which we talked about earlier, is still at least 5 years away, they reckon.
Which is crazy to me. That's a long fucking time between games. Yeah. Because when was Skyrim? That must have been 2018, 2019?
No, Skyrim was 2013 because it just released the 10-year anniversary edition.
Jesus.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah.
So you're talking 21 years. No, that's 21 will take you to, 2013, right?
Yeah. So it's 10 years now. So to take it, it'd be about 15.
15. Yeah.
I reckon,
Fucking hell.
Which would line up with being 2028, where they've now said, Phil Spencer said that that's when he slates for the release of the next generation of consoles. So the, PS6 and the Xbox Series XX, Fast and Furious.
X. I was going to say the Vin Diesel.
Yeah, the Xbox Vin Diesel. And the weirdest bit of news that came out of the whole thing was that apparently Xbox spent a fuck ton of money or put a really serious push behind trying to acquire Sega of all companies.
That's so random, though.
Yeah, out of the blue.
So fucking random.
Yeah. I guess they're real fans of Sonic. Just love him a bit.
What else are you buying there these days? I mean, Sega's had its heyday. They were an amazing games house and console house in their day. But their days come and gone. Let's be real. I find it interesting that Elder Scrolls, if Elder Scrolls 6 comes out, coincides with the launch of the next generation of consoles, then it will. So the Elder Scrolls series will completely skip the PlayStation 5 generation entirely.
Yeah. Well, yeah, it would. Or it'd be like a Last of Us coming out.
Or a dual release.
Yeah, coming out right on the edge. So if you get a PS6 or whatever, you could. Well, that's if they ever release it on PlayStation. That's the other thing.
Well, yeah, true.
If this all goes ahead, then it
might just be a Series X plus triple X fucking kind of.
And PC, PC exclusive because of that. But so I mean, fingers crossed that by the end of it, they all turn around and have a big laugh at the end and go, exclusivity. Fuck that. We're idiots.
Yeah.
Let's just share everything.
It's unlikely.
The amount of games that I've played over the years when my mates had Xboxes, I'd be like, fuck, I wish you could just play this game. And there's certain Xbox titles that I would really like to have played over the years. Like, we talked about some of our favorites before. Like
we're going to talk
Fable
about
for
that
me.
at the end of this episode too.
Yeah, like Fable series, would have loved to have played more of them because I loved the first one when I played it. And, Halo was always great. I remember playing the trilogy. Like, I wouldn't mind of playing the rest of them as they came out.
Yeah, I haven't played Halo since 3 either, actually.
Yeah, haven't touched the other ones.
Interesting.
Anyway, moving on. Little EA Games decided they're going to split into 2 divisions, which I think is almost like going back to what they were.
Yeah, I was going to say, that's how it started. It was EA Sports was completely separate from EA.
Yeah, so now they're going back to EA Sports and then EA Entertainment. Hey, good luck to them. Good luck to them. I think, obviously they have their yearly releases of EA Sports titles, which are pretty big for them. And if they have a separate studio or part of that studio devoted to their, Battlefield and Star Wars properties, Apex Legends is apparently their other like really big game. That's the EA one at the moment.
Yeah.
And then fine. But I'm guessing EA Sports would cover. That'd cover, Madden, baseball, FIFA. I wonder where Need for Speed would fall into that.
Oh, it's got to be in the EA Entertainment side, surely.
Oh, I don't know.
It's not a sports game.
Yeah, I mean it's arcadey racing, so I don't know. It's actually one of those interesting ones. You don't know where that would fall, but yeah. So yes, that's what's happening with EA Games. Good on them. Hopefully they bring back the "it's in the game" because everyone loved that growing up.
Well, they've lost the FIFA rights, or at least the rights to the logo.
Classic FIFA board and their corruption. That's a whole different story. In good news for us back home, the digital games tax offset has passed in the Australian Senate. This is going to offer a 30% refundable tax offset to eligible game developers that spend a minimum of $500,000 on qualifying Australian development expenditure for new eligible games, or on live ops updates across a suite of released eligible games. So this is basically a massive push into building up the Australian game
studio,
which is great.
The games industry, yeah. And it's very similar to what they did with the film industry to get the big film houses stood up for Hollywood. So
everything I've seen on at the moment is just like standing up, applauding, like from the Australian game industry, being like, finally, like it's a recognition that we've been waiting for, and it's going to hopefully like bring a big push of not only like new games coming from Australian developers, but a huge heap of jobs for those who really want to break into the Australian game development like scene or game development scene globally. So hopefully that brings, and I imagine it would bring a few international big studios like back to Australian shores to create some of those things over here. Now
all those sub studios, like if you look at Ubisoft, for example, they've got Ubisoft Montreal, they've got they've got Ubisoft studios all over the world. It'd be I'm not specifically talking about Ubisoft, they're just the example, but to have studio splinter like studios here in Australia would be fantastic for those big names.
So that's exciting. Like, I personally,
like an oath. I mean, it justifies. I mean, there's uni degrees in Australia around the games industry, but once you finish, you pretty much either work for Nix on on projects that are always going to be indie, or you have to try and break into the US industry, which is such a big competitive industry. It may as well be trying to break into Hollywood. Yeah. It happens, but it happens at like 0.001% of the time. So no, I think that's fucking great news, to be honest.
Yeah, I mean, I'd 100% would jump off the Australian hospitality scene to jump into the Australian game scene. Like that'd be super. Yeah, very fun. Oh, yes, it's time for my favorite bit of news always. There's some new PSPlus titles for people. The Call of Duty Black Ops Cold War is one of the main title this month. So if you are one of those million people worldwide who only use the PlayStation for Call of Duty and you don't have this one, there you go. Happy days.
Free one.
Alan Wake 2 was announced during the State of Play. So real horror vibes. So for those who really love a horror game, get into that.
It's very clearly timed for Alan Wake 2.
Yeah.
So
it's
very relevant.
Very relevant. And, having played Control, which is also part of that universe, it's definitely something I'm going to save. I'll see if I get into it. And the last one looked like an indie title called Endling Extinction is Forever, where you play as it's like a fox and you got your little litter and you have to survive day to day as like the world builds up around you. So, it'll probably have a pretty strong eco message in that one.
What does the fox say?
No, don't do it, Tom. Don't do it. You've learned. Well done. Really held that one in.
I'm impressed. I'm genuinely impressed.
And a last little bit from me that I'm actually going to quiz you on this one, Peter. So our remake, remaster, rebuild train keeps rolling on. RDR1 is apparently slated for a re-release, which is I don't know if it's going to be a full rebuild, just a remaster, just a port to newer console.
One regret I have for RDR1 is I got all of the, like, I invested the shit tons of hours it took to get all of the trophies for the single player. And by the time I got to the multiplayer part to get the platinum, everyone had quit the game or was just hacking to the point where the game was unplayable. Like, you'd literally spawn in and just get ganked, spawn in, gank, spawn in, gank. So if they were to re-release it with new trophies or a new trophy set, then I'd be keen to go back and try and plat that, because it's one on my list that I wish I'd been able to plat.
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if they did that with Last of Us Remastered. They took out all the multiplayer, didn't they? Yeah.
Well, they took it out, and I wouldn't even mind if they left. Well, I'd prefer they took out multiplayer trophies, frankly, from RDR1. But if they left it in but reset it and had new server set up, a whole bunch of other people would be trying to platinum the game, and presumably would be online, so I'd have a second shot at that trophy. Having said that, that's a much more palatable way for me to want to go back to an old game and replay it if they do rebuild it. So updated graphics, maybe sprinkle in some changes to the storyline or some extra side quests and shit, as opposed to the only Assassin's Creed game ever released that I don't have a platinum for, which is Brotherhood. They relaunched on PlayStation 4 and 5 and took out the multiplayer trophies, so I could go back and platinum that now, whereas I never managed to get the platinum the first time around due to some online trophy issues. But because I haven't remastered it, the poxy graphics, it just looks like a fucking train wreck. It really does. It's aged really badly, and it was an early PS3 gen game, so that's not unreasonable. It's just playing it in PS5 environment is just really tough. Really
you are talking to the guy who went back and played Star Wars Episode 1 Racer on his PS5, which was a 64 title. Like, I
know.
But that was pure nostalgia of just like, this looks like an N64 title. Why am I using a PlayStation 5 to play this? This is dumb, but this is also really fun.
And having said that, when I do have time to sit down and play an old game, and I do get nostalgic from time to time, AC2 Brotherhood and Revelations are what ignited my passion for so many parts of my life. It's not just video game related. Yeah. I wouldn't mind actually going back and playing it again. So it's on my list, and I've saved it from my PSPlus list, so it's in there for free. I will go back and do that at some point. Yeah, good. Which segues well into your next little tidbit on this topic.
Yeah. Guess which AC title they're talking about doing a full remaster for?
Oh, tell me it's the original. Please.
No.
It so badly needs it. It's still the best fucking game in the series. What are they going to do? Like Origins?
Nope.
Hit me with it.
4, baby. Pirates.
Back
on the high seas.
Does it? I feel like that's too early.
That was one of the first PS4 titles I had.
Yeah, that's what I mean. It's too early to do a remake.
I think it was a launch PS4 title. Yeah.
It was. Yeah, I think you could also buy it for PS3. It might have been one of those ones that rubbed shoulders on both sides of that.
Yeah, so apparently
GTA
Black
Online.
Flag's like the forerunner for the AC game they've decided to remaster. Rebuild, I'm not sure they did. They weren't very clear on the language there, but yeah.
Yeah, okay. I mean, it was a brilliant fucking game.
Oh, it was. Right. Sailing across the sea shanties going was second to none. That was I remember we were in our apartment in Potts Point back then. And Emma would just come home and she'd be like, there's a few beer cans empty and I can hear sea shanties. So I think Tom's really gotten into this one.
Yeah, you can tell when Tom's had too many cans because he's singing along.
Yes.
Early stages as a remake. Ubisoft Singapore are working on it, apparently.
There you go.
What was the standalone game that purportedly took the sailing engine and made it into its own standalone game?
That's the one that hasn't released yet.
It still hasn't released.
No.
Because they were talking...
Not Sea of Thieves. That's the other Xbox
I was going to
one.
say, it was talked about. It was discussed.
Skull and Bones. Skull and Bones. Skull and Bones is the
Skull and Bones.
Yeah, Skull and Bones is the one that's coming out, and it's taken that all. Yeah, look, as much as I loved playing Odyssey and sailing around in my trireme, like the Greek sea shanties never stood up to the pirate ones.
The Greek naval warfare never stood up to the pirates' warfare. Yes. And like the concepts were the same, and they did extend the game mechanics, but it's just Greek ships. I mean, you're going back a few hundred years, and the technology just wasn't nearly as cool to play as a video game. It's just that simple.
Yeah.
I'm sure Skull and Bones was announced and discussed at the same E3 as Sea of Thieves, and yet Sea of Thieves are up to their fifth expansion pack, and these fuckers still haven't released the game.
Yeah. I think it was pushed back again at the last. They talked about it at the last Ubisoft thing, the game show award thing a couple of weeks ago, and it's been pushed back again. It's been stuck in some sort of development hell.
Releases 31st of December 23, so they're taking pre-orders at JB right now.
Yes, the good old 31st of December pre-order date. That's a good placeholder. Well done.
Yeah. Anyway, moving on.
Oh, speaking of development, actually, I have some sad news that I just remembered, and it's made me sad again. Speaking of games that have been stuck in development hell that you're particularly excited for, I don't know if you saw this, but the game director behind Beyond Good and Evil 2 unfortunately passed away at the age of 40 the other week.
Oh, wow. That's really young.
Really young. Apparently had some health complications, but that is very sad news for the team sad as well, especially because they, by all accounts, were... Like the report said they were still working on it. I don't know if they'd like completely cut the team back or something, but you wonder now if if you lose your game director, or would you release it? I'm going to phrase this.
I'm going to phrase this poorly, and I don't mean to, but it might be the good reason to shelve that game forever that they've been kind of needing to, because they've needed to shelve it. I mean, it's been 5 years, guys. You've got nothing to show. That might be the reason they shelve it.
Yeah, or they put a bunch of stuff behind it and release it in his honor. So you never know. It's but yeah, it's a bit of sad news. So thoughts with his family and his team that he worked with. Like it's those teams work pretty closely. So to lose someone like that, would be massively devastating.
Yeah, those studios are pretty small when all those working groups on games are pretty small.
Yeah.
I mean, we're talking you were saying before, like super AAA titles, talking a team of 200 or 300. You'd have to assume that smaller titles are maybe 100 people. That's an office. That's one office.
Yeah.
I can categorically say there's 60 people in my head office, and I know every single person.
Yep.
Not on a personal level, but I know them and I know their names, and we've had conversations. So it's 100 people as a team, you'd absolutely probably know everyone. Yeah, that is a bit sad. Yeah. I'm going to move into some, I think, is good news. I was a bit concerned about with the acquisition or the kind of bringing Deadpool 3 into the core Disney umbrella, that the hard R that we've enjoyed so much in Deadpool 1 and 2 would turn into a bit of a soft R, kind of hard MA.
MA15, yeah.
Yeah. So I'm going to pronounce his name wrong. I think it's Karen Soni, who plays Dipinda. So it's obviously a Hindu name. Has confirmed that Deadpool 3 is a hard fucking R, and that they've continued to push that boundary the way that they did in the last couple of games in terms of what gets an R rating. Yep. He said the only difference between was it Fox / Marvel Studios? I think did the first
the Fox umbrella of that had licensed Marvel.
Yeah. So the only difference between working for them versus Disney has been that they didn't give him a full copy of the script for Deadpool 3.
And you can blame fucking Tom Holland for that one, can't you?
Yeah. It wasn't just Tom Holland. Who was the other blabberer? I think it was. Was it Hulk?
Yeah.
I can't remember his name. That's terrible.
Ruffalo.
Thank you. So daytime drinking hits different.
It does. He in an interview before Endgame was like, everyone dies, and then it's
that's right.
Don Cheadle's there, and he's like, dude, what the fuck? Like, they're gonna kill you. And he's like, no, I'm joking, right? Surely, I'm joking. And then
I do remember that. Yeah. So I think it's cool that they are sticking to a hard R, because Deadpool just wouldn't work without it.
No.
I saw you added a little tidbit on the end there.
You confused as I am? Good.
No, I'm not. I avoided all of the rumor mill around Deadpool 3 because I don't know that that's confirmed news.
It is. It was confirmed on Maximum
So what
Effort.
is it that's confirmed?
The confirmed is that Jennifer Garner is back as Elektra.
Yeah, right. Okay. So I also saw rumors that they might get Ben Affleck back as Deadpool. That Magneto. Jesus, who plays?
Apparently, Halle Berry's apparently sporting
Halle
a
Berry,
Storm-like haircut. James
Patrick
Marsden's
Stewart.
been approached. Yeah.
Patrick Stewart as Professor Xavier. What's his name? Ian McKellen for Magneto. There's lots of rumors around shit tons of cameos, but they are likely to just be cameos.
So they're talking because they've cast Hiddleston and Owen Wilson as their TVA as Loki and Mobius. So they're talking about it's going to be
Mobius is definitely there.
A time jumping story.
It's going to be a multiverse story.
Multiverse, time travel,
Negasonic Teenage Warheads definitely signed on. I actually think this will be, because it's multiverse spanning.
Multi-mess is actually a very good term for any multiversal story.
Multi-mess.
I think we should coin that. Yeah,
the multi-mess. This will be the perfect way to bring the X-Men in to the Marvel, the MCU. I reckon this will be the vehicle to bring it in. I mean, we know Wolverine's in, right?
You can't not talk about mutants now. You've mentioned them, and you've mentioned X-Men in Miss Marvel. You've talked about mutants before now
we're already getting crossovers of actors. You've got X-Men in
and now you've got fucking
Doctor
Wolverine
Strange.
There. You can't be like, oh yeah, no, it's just a miracle. It's a miracle. Yeah, Wolverine's a miracle.
No. There's too many. Actually, we'll talk about it a little later in Trailer Trash. But looking at Kraven the Hunter, he's very clearly a mutant.
Yeah, what the fuck is on there?
Let's move on.
Yes, that was sorry. So Jennifer Garner has been confirmed via Ryan Reynolds' studio, Maximum Effort. They released.
I haven't seen her in anything for a long time.
Last thing she was in was the Adam Project that I saw her in, which was the
Ryan Reynolds one. There was a TV series I think she was in as well that I bailed on. Anyway,
last little bit of news because we will talk about this a little bit shortly. Is the showrunner for Witcher. The main show, excuse me, that was disgusting.
Thanks, Chris.
Yeah, I know. Apologies. Henry Cavill's exit from the Witcher series will apparently be law accurate and flawless. If you're a fan of the books, they have said that it is a fan of the books. Now, my theory is how they're going to change from Cavill to Hemsworth is that Cavill at one point is going to get injured, and then his hands are going to start to glow, and then his head's going to look up. And he's going to Time Lord it. He's going to Time Lord it.
The timey-wimey energy is going to burst out of him. And he's going to run his hand through his hair and he goes, I'm a girl. And no, not a girl. I call bullshit.
But they've also said it's going to be very meta. Whatever the fuck that means. Anyway, it's a good thing Dan's not here because I don't need a 3-hour lecture on what that.
I've got to be honest. So I don't know what, it's my fault. It's something or things that I've typed into the YouTube algorithm in the past, but I do get offered videos on the Cavill backlash. Hooves. The Cavill backlash and their videos. And I watched one the other day. I kind of just skimmed through it because it's like a 25-minute video and I thought it would contain actual information. It's just a guy wanking on about it. But basically, he was reacting to somebody else's interview with the supporting cast. So they had Yennefer and Ciri in an interview. Yeah. And what's his name?
Yaskia.
Thank you, Yaskia. That was right. It was the 3 actors and someone was interviewing them. They were talking about Cavill leaving. And it was so the main video I was watching was in response to Hollywood is trying to basically pin everything on Cavill and try and ruin his career. This is the title of the video. Hollywood trying to assassinate Cavill's career, and supporting cast strike back. But I got it, and I don't know what Hollywood is saying negatively about.
You love
Cavill,
a bit of clickbait titles,
yeah,
don't
right?
you there, YouTube dude?
but I can't be fucked looking up the videos or anything about what they're saying to kind of commit character assassination on Cavill. But what I can tell you is the interview with the supporting cast. It was very clear that they were defending Cavill. They weren't supporting Cavill. They were defending him. So whatever has been said, they were like, I don't actually know how to be Yennefer without Cavill there.
Yeah.
Like, and Siri said much the same thing. So anyway, lots of ugliness, unfortunately, surrounding all of that. It is ugly.
Yeah. And it's just not what you need. You just want your stories to be told. You want to watch your stories and have a good time.
I've just sprayed beer all over my fucking screen.
No, good. Well, while you clean that up, we might as well go into the review seeing as we're talking about Witcher Season 3.
Well, we're going into a next beer, aren't we?
Yeah, but while we clean up and I crack my, I'm not just saying that's what we're going to start talking about.
Need some wet ones.
Huzzah! Did it again. Cracked the beer open. Well done, Thomas. Boy.
Yes, let's talk about. No, I'm still
mopping up.
Mopping up. That's exactly right.
Yeah. Yes, we're going to start talking about Witcher Season 3, Part 1, Volume 1, whatever you want to call it. The bookend episodes were the best.
Completely agree.
Yeah. The middle kind of faltered, and we've obviously half heard from Dan around his take on it. That last episode 5, was so enjoyable. The
layers of the same story,
I love those kind of stories where it's you see it once, then you go back and see it from side angle A, and then you go back and see it from side angle B. I thought it was very, very cleverly done and really well done. Yeah.
I'm going to start by saying I thoroughly enjoyed that last episode 5 as well. But I think they pushed the boundaries on that concept in terms of the layered cake kind of expose where you have multiple characters attend the same party. Split off into various conversations, and kind of then two people have a conversation, then split off and have conversations with two other people, and so you kind of reveal the story in layers. But I think they pushed the boundary a little too far, because there were times where the same characters that we'd already seen, like Yennefer and Geralt, were having a conversation in the first layer, and then 4 layers later they're having the same conversation, but they reveal the bit that happened before the bit that they'd already revealed, and it's like, that's not a whole layer. That's just kind of a bit.
It's like when you're peeling an onion and a little bit of skin gets left on, you got to go, oh, there it is.
Yeah.
You only find it at the end.
Yeah. It felt a little like they were pushing it a little bit too far. But no, I found the first episode and the fifth episode fucking brilliant. The fighting scenes in the first episode were spectacular.
That choreography was fantastic. And I found that throughout. I really enjoyed that. I will say I did have a really good chuckle at the completely extra band that Yaskia hated, the new band that came in. Like when they did the flex, got onto the boat, I lost it. I think I spat out some of the beer I was having at the time. We did smash through it. I don't know if you smashed it. We watched the first episode like the day after it came out.
I binged it. No, so I didn't. I watched every episode yesterday.
Yeah, right. So we watched one, and then I had a absolutely soul-crushing hangover, and we smashed through the last 4 while we ate my own body weight and grilled. It was great. But it definitely was one of those ones where it was like, normally I'm very slow-paced with TV, as you guys know, but I was just like, fuck it, yeah, let's go next. And I even said to Emma before we sat down and watched the last 4, we'd be like, let's get through 2 and then see, how my brain's feeling. And it was just like, almost like just cured me, like re-put my head together. I was like, no, I need to know what happens right now. Like, let's go through. It was definitely a reverse bell curve, that first part.
But it wasn't really terrible. The episodes 2, 3, and 4 weren't terrible. I just found, and so you had the druid and the werewolf episode, which I think was episode 4. Dan said that he particularly didn't.
That was 3, wasn't it? I think that was 3, because that's the one he said he thought was dog shit.
Maybe it was 3. Yeah, he did say it was dog shit. I didn't hate it. I just thought that So they've very clearly this season, this first half of this season, they've very clearly embraced the political intrigue part of the original Witcher stories. And if you listen to Dan talk, Witcher 1 and Witcher 2, I think in particular Witcher 2 is very much a political, like kingdom political thriller. rather than an action story that we got in Witcher 3.
Hmm.
And they've very much embraced that. They had embraced it in season 1 with all the time jumps and shit and confused the fuck out of people.
Yeah.
I have to admit, not being as close to the lore as Dan and having not watched season 2 since it came out, I was a little confused in a few episodes as to who the fuck was backing who and why.
Yeah.
I struggled a little bit, and I'm
you
really
do kind of
disappointed.
need like a March Madness board next to you to go like, oh, okay, yeah, draw.
And at the same time, they did put a decent amount of effort into telling you giving you a good refresher.
Hmm.
So as the season opens, as you start to watch episode 1, it gives you a solid 5-minute refresher of the previous season.
Yeah,
but it doesn't go into who's standing where in the kind of the political motivation chart, which I think was a miss.
It's also something fun they could have done as a little recap to be like, like it would have to be like almost like a standalone little pre-episode where it's just like,
and they've done that before with other shows.
Yeah, and Cavill just walks out, completely breaks the fourth wall and goes, fuck, this is where everyone stands, and like does a whole like rundown thing. Like it could be a little bit like a fun little thing Netflix could have done, but
he does have a lot more lines, I've noticed so far.
Yeah, which I remember Dan talking
about.
Well, yeah, and talking about how Geralt is like more of a philosopher, like warrior philosopher kind of style. That was the first thing I picked up on as well, was how it really felt like Cavill had got that across for Geralt.
But it was one of his first complaints about Laura and the rest of the writers, that they weren't kind of respecting the original content, and that he should have had more lines and less grunts, because season 1 he was just grunting a lot.
Yes.
So I'm glad he got his way on the way out.
Yeah, definitely. And then the only other complaint that I had was that I just felt like the monsters were too similar to too refresh. Like the middle, the episode 3 one, which was the hands body meld thing with the faces
the flesh monster thing.
That really reminded me of the one from season 2, which was almost looked like the Majora's Mask from Zelda that was stuck on a weird thing of like ants and bodies cut together. And then the other two were both like kind of roly-poly monsters. I was just like, it's a roly-poly that extends out. Okay, cool.
Well, I don't know. I thought the Eshera, I think it was called, the sea monster, was an Eshera.
Yep.
They are. I mean, they are. They have to start recycling monsters because there's, unless you go full blown cockatrice or cockatrice or basilisk, there's only so many monsters to find in the world. Really, there's probably a dozen or maybe 24 monsters to find in Witcher that I've ever seen, and so they actually do kind of have to start, unless they want to reveal a big monster or something specific and important. Yeah, they do have to start recycling monsters to an extent. So,
I get what you're saying there, but it's like, I guess I was thinking more about, the monsters we do fight in Witcher 3. Like, it would have been nice to see some of those come in, like,
or the baby wyvern.
Instead of just the baby wyvern, like, But no, all in all, I very much enjoyed it. It was a great, there was a definite moment at the end of episode 5 where you're like, oh fuck, I have to wait a month for the last 3 movie length episodes we're going to get. So they're going to be between 1 and 2 hours long, kind of last 3 episodes. But yeah, can't wait for Geralt's doctor moment when he regenerates. So that's going to be exciting.
Yeah, exciting's not the word I'm going to pick. I mean, that's the end of Witcher for me. Anyway, let's talk about our beers.
Yes. I'll go first this time.
Yeah, please.
I have cracked the Deeds Midnight Rain, which is a black lager.
Nice.
This is they've done a few Deeds has done a few beers that are around this like kind of black lager, Schwartz beer kind of vibe, and they're themed all around like night storms, and I think the Schwartz beer was something lightning, it was like midnight lightning or something, but you can see why they call it midnight. Like that is midnight. That is the witching hour in there. It is a 4.9% black lager. It is
4.9%.
4.9%.
Okay. It'll be interesting to see how this rates.
Yeah, look, there is. They don't really talk about the malts they use, which is what I was more interested in reading on the back of the can. The only thing they mention is that it's a black lager and uses Magnum hops.
Okay.
It does have that kind of coffee roastish notes, so I imagine it's pretty similar. Like, I'm not sure if they'd be using black malt because it's not as smoky as you'd think, but definitely a bunch of dark malts. It does have a nice sweetness coming through. It's almost like a twangy kind of sweetness at the end there, though. Like, it really just hits like the front tip of your tongue, when, like at the very end when you think it'd be hitting the back of your tongue.
Yeah.
Very again, very easy drinking, very smooth. It's definitely one of those ones that you would happily go back and have a couple of. I've had a few black lagers over the years where it's like, that was great, but that's enough. This one's very, very well made, and definitely something I'll go back for. I will give that a 4.25.
Okay. 4.25s.
4.25.
Not a bad score.
Yeah.
It's nice.
Well done. What have you got?
I'm
in your little glass?
a bit disappointed by this, to be honest with you.
Oh.
And I've just figured out why. I have a very old sample of Bad Shepherd's American Red. I only bought this recently, actually, and it was packaged in August 2022.
Yeah, it's getting on.
Yeah, it's a month before its birthday, which would explain my complaints with it. So, it's a darker but very clear brown red. It's got malts, like you can taste the malt, but that's it. There's no hop hit whatsoever. The hops have completely died, which, to be honest, for an 11-month-old hop forward beer, I'm really not surprised about. Again, it's very dry and it's a bit thin, so it's 5%. And I just find it a little bit tasteless.
A
and
red
thin.
ale as opposed to a red IPA kind of vibe.
Yeah, I actually don't. So it's listed as an American amber or an American red ale. And you're right. It's not an IPA. It's not supposed to be that hop forward. But you read the back. This bold American red ale is the perfect expression of balance between malt and hops. Big, chewy caramel malt flavors give way to drying bitterness, complemented by a big tropical fruit hop punch, thanks to Galaxy, Citra, and Centennial. So again, it should have similar hop characteristics as the Reckless Red IPA I just had. Maybe just a little bit differently balanced. Yeah. But I'm not getting any hop hit whatsoever, which will, I'm sure, just be due to the age. But I'm also not getting any caramel. There's no sweetness to it. Like I said, it finishes quite dry. Bitterness isn't that high either. 35 IBU, which is kind of not very bitter at all. I just think I've got a bad sample. I'm going to give it a 3.75 in the hopes that I've just got a bad sample and it's not representative of the beer when it was fresh. But a little disappointing for me.
Yes, I get the feeling that beer is also probably, looking at that can art, it's probably one of their like seasonals. So it might be one that like is about to come back around and they,
Yeah, possibly. Possibly.
Yeah.
I can we take a 60-second break, please?
Yes.
Thank you. Resuming in 3, 2, 1. Cool. Let's move on to Jack Ryan.
Jack Ryan.
Which, again, we don't have the full season of yet, which is disappointing. This is
it's episodic, isn't it? It's weekly drops.
Is it weekly drops?
Yeah.
Am I just behind?
No, I'm pretty sure it's weekly drops or like 2 episodes a week.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
That makes sense. This is the final season, apparently.
With good old Krasinski as the titular hero.
You're right. So 30th of June was first 2 eps, 7th of June was the next 2, and then the 14th.
Time travel, did it?
Next week. What did I say? Oh, sorry, July. 30th of June, 2 eps. But apparently we're only getting 6 episodes this season.
Oh, really?
Well, at least
the story
that's
has
all
been moving relatively quickly. So
yeah, at least that's what's presented on IMDb so far. That's not necessarily gospel, but next week we'll get the final.
Like some sort of movie database that know everything.
What do you think so far?
Oh, I quite enjoy the Jack Ryan series, and this one, like, it's gone back to where I needed it to go. So
Yep.
Jack was desk bound, and now he's not. And it's like, fuck yeah, let's let him have some fun. Let's do what he does
off
best.
the leash.
Yeah. It'd be like putting James Bond in like an office setting. It'd be like, what are you fucking doing? Yeah. It made sense for the story and the whole progressive character arc over the four seasons. Don't get me wrong; it was in character and in universe, like followed a thing. But I'm glad that they've gone now. Like, well, off the leash, have fun, run around, buddy. See you later.
Tend to agree.
Yeah.
I'm glad. As much as I hate to say this, because I really, really enjoyed the first season. I'm glad that they're finishing it here in season 4.
Yeah, I'm not sure where they would go after this. It would feel like it'd be kind of like...
It's already suffered from running too long almost. There hasn't been a really, really powerful story like the Suleiman story since.
See, I really enjoyed season 3.
Cat hair in my fucking sinuses. Sorry.
That is actually the plot of season 3. It's just Jack dealing with cat hair.
Just drilling a hole into his brain.
12 episodes. Yeah. No, I mean, I said that when we reviewed it last time. I really enjoyed it, but that's because it went back to Cold War Russia. Yeah. That is just a recipe for success in my books.
And it was good, but it wasn't groundbreaking in the way that I felt.
No,
season 1
true.
was.
Yes.
Season 1 was something new and different. It was a new take on a story we've already seen before in terms of the Middle East and terrorism and all the rest of it. But it was a very intricate, very tense story that was told on two fronts in the sense that they humanized the terrorist.
Yes,
and they gave him a real reason to be a bad guy, but believed that he wasn't the bad guy. And I really liked that about the series. Season 2, okay, they had to kind of up the ante a little bit and they moved to South America and dealt with another quite a controversial kind of grouping of countries in Venezuela. But I didn't think it hit home nearly as well as season 1. Season 3, it went to Russia, but there's been so many amazingly good Russian stories that this ended up on the spectrum of just good, plain old good. And now we're Mexican plus, Mexican plus
worldwide. Actually,
Mexican plus Chinese cartels are really the kind of basis. But
Burmese,
Burmese. Sorry, you're right. Silver Triad. So, I'm glad they're finishing it here.
Yeah, that's fair.
Because it's not hitting home as much as the first season did, and it still isn't hitting as home.
I honestly think that's because Jack was too high up in the ranks, and now he's kind of taken a step back and back in the field, kind of thing. So I was getting a little bored with like the political side of it, and in terms of the like literal like stuck in a political hearing and having to report to the president and all that kind of stuff. It's just like, I'm thinking, Jack Ryan he just
needs to go rogue and start shooting people again.
Yeah, and doing his thing, his analyst thing out in the field, where he's like, he's almost like Batman-esque world greatest detective kind of feel. Like that's where he needs to go and be. Yeah,
but they haven't really recreated that feel since season 1, in my opinion.
No, and that's what I'm saying. Like, just finishing episode 3, that's where it feels like they're trying to get back to now, which is good. And hopefully in the next 3 episodes, if that is the end of it, that we see that come through. But I'm thoroughly enjoying it. It's there's all the other little stories that go alongside the main Jack story are good. It's good to see November Mike back. He's always a favorite.
He's cool.
It was it's good fun so far.
And I can't remember the actor's name, but he's in everything where they need the token Mexican guy. He's popped up a million places lately. Michael.
Oh, the guy playing Chavez.
Yeah, Pena.
Yeah, he was in Ant-Man. It's very weird seeing him in compared to his character in Ant-Man, where he jokes around like the whole time and he talks about
now he's serious, hardcore,
very serious,
lethal
hardcore.
Motherfucker.
Jason Bourne level hardcore, and it's just kind of like that's I don't know. It's just I'm having a hard time breaking you away from. Hey man, my parents died and my girlfriend left me, but I got the van. Like joke from Ant-Man. It's like okay, cool, dude. Yep.
I've got to say, like, I want to make sure I don't know if I'm going to word this the way that I intend or with the intent. I don't know if I'm going to word this well based on my intent, but I like that the primary romantic interest for the main character is of a more realistic body shape than most Hollywood casting for the main romantic interest. Right? She's not a size fucking 0 supermodel style body shape.
Yes,
she is
okay.
a normal human being.
Yeah.
And it's something that it's the same actress that they've used since the very beginning. And she's just
Abby Cornish. She's Australian too.
And hot as fuck. But I like that they're casting more realistic body shapes in Hollywood.
Yeah. Anyway. It was actually funny you say that because Emma last night when we were watching the episode 3 was just like I'm not sure because she's obviously a big US Office fan, so she knows Krasinski from when he was Jim.
Yeah.
In that. Yeah. And she's just like, I just don't know what it is, but there's something about like they've either made the doors shorter or he's gotten taller. And I was like, nah, look, to be honest, he's done a bunch of like movies lately where he's had to get fucking ripped. So he's just working out heaps and his shoulders are broader. Yeah.
And he has gotten ripped. There's no
question.
But there
was
that.
One particular scene when in the last episode, episode 3, where he throws the baseball to Greer and then he walks out of the office and it's almost like he has to do like a comical like spider duck out of the door. Like I can see where she was going from, being like, oh yeah, he does look a little bit taller than normal. Like,
maybe he's got the Tom Cruise clogs on or something.
But he doesn't need them because he's pretty sure he's 6 foot anyway. Like,
yeah. Anyway, I am enjoying this final series, but not as much as the first one. I still think they needed another Suleiman kind of threat.
We might get there. Move on? Who knows? Let's move on. What are we up to next? Oh, Tom. Hello, I'm Tom. No. So good. So good. Truck make things go boom. Transformers Rise of the Beasts. I went there. So literally I had no plans to go see this in the cinema. Had been out the 2 nights previously to the Sunday I went to see it. Got home like Sunday. We had dark nights at the Union. It was all very fun. Drank a shit ton of dark beer. Feeling pretty average on the Sunday. Got home from walking Jasper, and on the walk, Emma's like, "Oh, really sorry. Forgot to tell you, I got a friend coming over tonight. We're watching that's our movie club night." And I was like, "Cool."
Don't want to see Bridget Jones for the millionth time.
Couldn't have done that the two nights I was out of the house. Yeah, that's fine. Okay. No, they're watching Stardust, the one with Charlie Cox and Claire Danes, the fairy tale. It's actually got a pretty star-studded cast.
Okay.
And I was like, cool, I've seen that. No interest in really watching it again. I'll go book a ticket to the movies, and I'll looked at the Dendy and was like, Flash, which I don't really want to give money to, or Transformers or Spider-Man. Yep. But I didn't want to see Spider-Man with Emma. We wanted to go see it together. So I was like, sweet. I'm going to take a couple of beers.
Into the Spider-Verse, is that what you're talking about?
Yeah. So I still haven't seen that one, but we want to go see it together. And it's just like, sweet. I'm going to go watch Transformers. I'm going to take a couple of beers, sit in the cinema, just go in and go watch things explode. Have a great old time. Yep. Got in there.
Just need to see a Michael Bay film from time to time.
Empty cinema except for me. I don't know if he did this one.
I don't think he did, but it's his style of just...
Oh, there's definitely some lens flares flying through. Don't you worry. Got in there, finally they've gone back to G1 robots. Yep. So Optimus finally looks like Optimus should have.
Yep.
The Mirage, who's the new feature Transformer, was fine.
Mirage was a plane, wasn't he?
Well, in this he's a Porsche that can multiply himself. So he throws out mirages of himself as his little special power. The Maximals, which I loved Beast Wars growing up when it was that 3D Transformers cartoon. Fucking loved it. Ate it up they were fantastic. Also he
was a race car. He was a Formula 1 car.
Oh, so in this he's a Porsche. Yeah. He's a 911 with a racing stripe. And then the villain was in this was Scourge and what's the planet? Omnicron.
Yep.
So instead of, Galactus and Silver Surfer, they had Omnicron and Scourge. It was great.
Yeah.
And the truck models were great. All the car models were great. The Maximals were well used. They transformed exactly like they did in the cartoon, which got me really excited. There were enough explosions. There was enough going on. They had there was a bit of sexual tension between the two human characters, but you didn't really care because eventually one of the human characters gets a Transformer suit and it's fucking sick. And then the best thing, and this is the best thing, and I'm going to spoil it, but I know that you're not going to watch it, so it doesn't really matter.
Correct.
And I'm sure our listeners,
spoil away
if they haven't, it's not literally the end credits stinger, but the kind of stinger at the end of the film is Mike November from Jack Ryan appears, talks to the main character you've been dealing with the whole movie, and goes, "Hey man, really love what you did. If you ever need a job, come talk to us," and flicks him a G.I. Joe card.
No.
I think they're
linking
rebooting
the universes.
They're rebooting a Hasbro universe.
No.
Funniest fucking thing about the whole thing. He literally goes, "Here you go," and flicks over and he looks at the card and it's just got the G.I. Joe logo.
The G.I. Joe logo on it.
And I was, 3 beers in by this stage. I go, "Oh, fuck yeah, G.I. Joe, let's go!" But yeah, literally just going.
So bad it's good.
Yeah, and that was the whole thing. Going in and just going, you know what? I know this is not going to be an Oscar-winning film. I'm not looking for a story. I want to see a truck make another truck explode.
Yeah.
And it delivered. It delivered.
Is Bumblebee in it?
Bumblebee is in it for the start and the end.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because I think the movie prior to this one was
Bumblebee, yes.
So I haven't seen that one. I think the one before that was The Last Night. That was Last Night was the last one I saw, but I don't know how many films.
No, that was the last Transformers film. Then they had the little Bumblebee offshoot, which is when Bumblebee comes to Earth.
Yeah,
and he is an actual Bumblebee.
Almost.
Well, yeah, like the prequel. And then that was set in the 80s, and then this is set in the 90s.
I didn't know Bumblebee was set in the 80s.
Killer. The soundtrack is killer. If you like 90s hip hop, like anyone should.
Anyone.
You're going to have a good time.
Anyone should.
Yeah.
Yeah. Hip hop and grunge. That was my 90s kind of dichotomy.
Yeah, pure grunge, yeah.
Yeah.
But no, look, just fun. It's definitely when it comes out on your free streaming or part of your streaming subscription, just take a night off, crack a couple of beers, just have a fun time. You're not getting anything serious. It is your popcorn film. It is your pure popcorn flick. But yeah, the G1 models look great. And every single Transformer had a different transforming noise.
Okay.
I really like that. I thought that was a good little touch. Yeah.
Cool.
Also, some really good voice actors they used. Like the Eagle from the Maximals was Michelle Yeoh.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah.
That's impressive.
Yeah.
You've got one final review to do, Brew.
Oh, yes. This is a show that we started the other night. So it's on Apple TV. It's called the what did I call it? The After Party. Mm-hmm. The After Party. It's a whodunit story. So the basic premise is you've got a group of 8 people who go to a high school reunion, 15-year high school reunion. So obviously things have changed. People have got married, unmarried, changed jobs, done other stuff. And at the after party at someone's house, someone is killed. So it becomes a whodunit story. The detective comes in and her thing is, as she says in the build-up, so the first episode's an hour, but it's kind of a 2-parter. Every other episode has been about half an hour long. And she goes, cool, I want to interview every single person at this after party, or like the main-ish characters.
Yep.
But the way I'm going to do it is and her line is, I want to know your mind movie, so I want to know it from your perspective. And so every episode after that is shot in the style of a different style of cinema. So the first dude she interviews...
Interesting.
Yeah, it's really cool. The first dude she interviews... Well, actually, the first person that talks to her is like real film noir and like abstract film noir. So it like cuts to those sweeping... Her hair is always blowing in the wind. It's all in grayscale. Then it cuts to the main dude's, like his take of events, and it's pure rom-com. Like in terms of the lighting, everything. They go to another guy, it's musical theater, or the musical episode. So there's a bunch of song and dance, and that's with Ben Schwartz, who is very, very funny in everything he does. And then
Schwartz. Hang on.
If you ever watched Parks and Rec. He's in that. He's done a bunch. They're all like
they're all B grade actors. I'm just looking at
they're
them
all
now.
like SNL actors, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, okay. Because you've got
like,
just looking at IMDb now. John Cho.
That's season 2. So in this season, we're in season 1. So Tiffany Haddish is the main detective.
Yep.
And she's been in a bunch of like, she's a comedian, so she's done a bunch of like her own stand up, but then in a bunch of those like, I guess B grade like comedy like movies she's in. Sam Richardson's the same. He was in last thing I saw him in was he was in Ted Lasso.
Dave Franco.
Dave Franco is there as the guy he's the guy who gets murdered in his house. Ben Schwartz has been in a bunch of stuff, but he's always kind of like a little secondary character. Zoe Chow, I've only seen, I actually haven't seen anything she's been in, but so they're going through each episode. So we're 3 episodes in, and it's been a rom-com, a Fast and Furious / Michael Bay like lens flare spectacular, and then the musical episode. And the next one we're up to is the character apparently had a full mental breakdown. So I'm very interested to see how that one comes through. But it's very funny. One of those,
what was the Marvel character, the mutant with split personality? And I don't know.
Legion.
Yeah, Legion. It might be a Legion style shoot.
Yeah, I'm very
Legion
got
got too confusing in the end. Moon Knight walked the line on the perfect side of it.
Yeah.
Whereas Legion went way over the top.
Yeah, that went real abstract.
Let's drop some shrooms while high as a kite already.
Exactly.
It seems like their caliber of actors has improved. Well, not improved, but they've spent more money on actors this year.
Definitely, I think season one was the test, and now it's come out, and they're going, "Oh yeah, this works."
So you've got John Cho, Ken Jeong. Who else have we got in here? Zach Woods from what was the IT movie? The startup? Is it? It's gonna bug me. 1 second while IMDb loads. Silicon Valley.
Zach Woods guy. Yeah. There's
Silicon Valley. He's the deadpan Silicon Valley kind of assistant.
Right.
Yeah.
They've obviously. But I think it's also one of those things that I wouldn't be surprised if it's a bunch of these actors that are coming into season 2 have watched season 1 and gone, we want to be a part of that. I want to sign in. That looks like fun. Let's have a go. And they're doing it. So they are doing a season 2, which I think comes out shortly. It's on Apple TV.
Already listed them all.
It's fun. It was one of those ones we got through 3, and I was like, okay, that's enough for tonight. Like, I need a break. It cuts to get a bit too much.
If you're watching Apple TV, have you watched the one with Harrison Ford in it?
Emma watched that one, but I Shrinked. I didn't watch that one, but she did. I recommend it. Oh yeah, definitely something I want to check out because we loved off-kilter the Shrink Next Door, which was the Will Ferrell one. That was great.
As an off-kilter kind of not pop culture series, it's actually really good. So highly recommend that one.
Yeah, and the other one I want to watch, which you talked about, was the Silo one. I definitely want to check that out.
Silo, yeah.
Which is rare for me to say, seeing as I don't usually get into TV these days. So, actually,
true.
Yeah, it definitely hooked me after hearing you talk about it. But yeah,
well, we're behind on some. Well, I'm behind on some stuff. I've just gone back and I have gobbled up in 2.5, 3 weeks Battlestar Galactica.
I did want to ask you about this.
Okay,
the question around this, because you said you didn't want to really talk about it, but I'm glad you brought it up because I want to know if it's A, how you think it's held up after the 13 years or whatever you just said, 15 years. But B, if there's like, because I know I've done this, I'm not usually a show repeater. I don't like going back to something else I really loved it. Mm-hmm. But there are still things like shows I go back to where it's like, I know I really didn't like that episode and I'm just going to skip it. If you had like moments of that, or where you go, you know what, I didn't like that episode the first time I watched it, I'm going to give it a second chance.
No, to be honest, and at the risk of disappointing, I've really none of that factored into my thought process. None of what you just said factored in. So I watched so Battlestar Galactica's 2004 to 2009. Mm-hmm. Has it stood the test of time? The answer is yes. Look, the graphics, the 3D CGI of the spaceship sequences, actually stand up pretty well. There was a noticeable increase in quality in season 4, which is the final season.
Yeah, okay.
Like it's like they've suddenly gotten upgraded hardware to do these graphics.
Yep.
But the quality issues in the first 3 seasons are less about the actual quality of the CGI and more about it's clearly shot in 720. And so you just don't get high quality video. It reminds me a lot of Stargate. It's got a similar budget to Stargate. It's kind of very similar in aesthetic. The actual storylines for the first 3 seasons were the storylines spectacular. Season 4, and Dan will probably fucking beat me up for saying this, but season 4 I kind of felt it went off a little bit. It went weird, like it was all hard sci-fi and it was all explainable and there was some weird stuff going on, but you kind of expected it to be explained away scientifically because that's kind of the show was established as that kind of background. And then the 4th season just went a little bit off the deep end.
Ooh.
with God and religion and, destiny and repetition and some weird themes, like just unexpected themes that I didn't see coming.
Yeah, right.
Thoroughly enjoyable. Did I skip any episodes? No. So I watched this when I was 28, so 12, 13 years ago. 27, 28. Yeah, so 13, 14, 15 years ago I watched it last, and I watched the first 2.5 seasons, and then my house got broken into, and I had the Battlestar Galactica limited edition box set tin on DVD, and the tin had this metal spacer, like it was like a steel back case, but for like 10 discs. And so it ended up being really quite thick on this little book style opening. And it had a metal spacer that kind of plumbed into the roof of the steelbook. And someone must have assumed that there was cash inside because they tore it apart.
Oh,
and then in the process of doing so, scratched the fuck out of some of the DVDs. And then took my PlayStation that had, I think, the last disc of Season 3 in my PlayStation 3. So that when they took the PS3, they took the disc. And so I just never got to see the rest of the series. So it was cool going back and watching it again, though.
Yeah.
But I gobbled it. That's all I have done has been...
it's as you said,
Battlestar Galactica and Jedi Survivor. That's been my universe for the last 2.5, 3 weeks.
Yeah.
Anyway, I think on that note, we should take a quick break so we can go refresh our beers and our bladders and back after these messages from our sponsors.
Hey,
and we're back.
We are
in my ever darkening room.
Pete's in the cave.
I am in the cave, in the man cave. Whole house is a cave, really. Yeah, so we took an extended break because my previous beer had actually expired and I didn't feel like
hadn't expired. It just gone past its best before date. There is a distinct difference.
Sure. Yes.
Legally speaking.
It wasn't going to give me botulism.
Patent pending.
Wasn't going to give me botulism or anything, but it was not.
Well, that won't, but something else will, I'm sure.
Certainly. Anyway, so I've gone up in ABV, and this is going to become dangerous because daytime drinking's hitting different.
Oh, hello. Good morning. It's awake.
Someone's nitro.
I've awoken the nitro beast.
Nitro's got your nitro's got the opposite problem to mine, which is mine has no fucking head. So I just like bitch poured mine. I poured mine very similar to the way you're pouring your nitro, and look at the head, almost nothing.
Oh, that's all right.
It's
what's the style
diminished already. It's a brown ale. I want to say ice cream stout.
Oh, I know what this is. I know
Holy
what this is because
shit.
I think I packed this into a little box for you.
You did. Holy shit.
Yes, good, bad. Is that good holy shit, bad holy shit?
I'm impressed by the capturing of the flavors on the can name, but
gross flavors.
It almost tastes synthetic. So I'm going to go first.
Before you get into that, can I just do this? Look at that creamy fucking pour. Oh, it fucking loves it.
Loves it. That's a grand pour.
Okay, so mighty Chewbacca.
I am drinking Seeker Brewing Ben and Jeffrey's mint chocolate cookie ice cream stout, which is a lovely looking can. I've lost my.
I got a lot. The Seeker can design has always been very on point.
Wollongong's finest, Ben and Jeffrey's. This is what happens when founders Ben and Jeffrey get together in the brewery and aim to deliver a big scoop of yum. For this rich and decadent dessert stout, they've added cocoa nibs and chocolate syrup, tons of mint, and a whole lot of milk sugar, leaving you with a smooth, velvety chocolate stout. They then added bucket loads of cookies just to top it all off. Be sure to have this after dinner. Contains lactose. Contains fuck tons of lactose.
Oh, I'm sure it does, yeah.
Fuck tons. My head is completely dissipated. This is an 8.4% dessert stout, and it is a cray-cray. Oh, Jesus.
Are you a fan of mint choc?
I am.
Okay.
I wouldn't cross the road to buy one, but like I don't dislike it. It's a good pairing. It's a classic pairing. What was the little mint round, like wagon wheel shaped, the after dinner mint?
Please, sir, would you like an after dinner mint? It is only a wafer thin.
Wafer.
No, fuck off, I'm full.
I was thinking
Please,
more
sir,
like
they
the
are
discs.
complimentary.
Used to have the discs about that size that were chocolate covered mint disc. I can't remember.
Yeah, the
what
after
they're
dinner mint. Yeah,
it's but bigger, but mass produced by Cadbury. But anyway, it is interesting, and it does everything it says it's supposed to do. It is a shitload of mint and chocolate in a beer. I suspect as it warms up, it'll get stoutier. But I just burped up choc mint. Like, it's very, very strong to the point where I doubt it's actually synthetic, but it tastes almost synthetic with how strong it is.
Yeah, right.
Not too bad though. Certainly
as in synthetic in terms of the mint
the
or the
flavor,
chocolate?
the flavor strength on the mint side of things.
Yeah,
almost chemically.
Yeah, right. Okay.
You do get a little bit of the stout. You get a shitload of sweetness. Like, it is ridiculous how much lactose is in this thing.
Yeah.
But I'm enjoying it. I'll see how it warms up. I'm going to give that that's a 4.25 for me. That's right up my alley. I do like a good dessert stout. Yeah. I know my description probably didn't kind of prepare you for a high score like that, but yeah, that's right up my alley for this time of the afternoon after a couple of beeries.
Yeah, this is what this one's doing for me, the one I've just poured.
And what are you drinking, Tom?
Oh, I have poured the Burnley Brewing Coffee Brown, which is a nitro coffee brown ale. You wouldn't be able to tell because it's upside down to indicate you need to pour it upside down. In fact, it's a very confusing label in that half of it's upside down and half of it's not. So I can't. I don't want to pour it upside or turn it upside down now to read parts of it, but they tend to be just their pouring instructions.
Yeah.
They have brought this in at 5.5%. The coffee they have used is from Industry Beans, who I'm assuming are Melbourne-based, just like Burnley Brewing. Burnley are from Richmond in Victoria. Their ingredients listed: water, barley, wheat, hops, yeast, cold brew coffee, and lactose. So they're obviously going for like a flat white flavor as opposed to the old long black. But it's beautiful nitro. Like just
oh wow, look at that velvet.
Yeah, and there's you can do the yes. Doing this over the laptop, very dangerous, but I trusted the nitro. Beautiful little coffee flavor coming through. Not too overpowering, but not subtle that it gets lost. Nice they used a brown ale base. Mostly this would be chucked into some sort of stout, which I find, unless you use a heap of coffee, definitely like overpowers that flavor you want. It's beautifully smooth. It's that rich malt character coming through. There's none of that hop. It's not like an American brown. It's definitely an English brown, I would say, based on the flavors I'm getting through. But it is, I actually don't want to drink it. I just love staring
It's
at
so
it.
perfect. Yeah.
Yeah.
Even with the frosting on the back.
Yeah, just a little bit on the nose. That's how we like it. It's the Belgian dip. It's how we do it in Belgium.
Dip.
Yeah, that's fantastic. 5 stars.
Yeah, wow, 5.
I would. I'm actually going to look up if there's more of that. Yeah, I would bathe in it.
That'll be the next episode of the Rebel Pilot Helmet series.
Yeah, it's just me bathing in things
in brown ale.
In nitro brown ales, to be exact. It's a very, very niche AMSR channel that I'm gonna.
But at least you could get away with it because it's a dense enough colored liquid that you wouldn't be over revealing anything.
No.
You can totally get away with that.
Oh, I really want to know if I can get a 4-pack of that. I'd sit on that for forever. Also, look at that. Beautiful.
Perfectly
Beautifully done.
Aligned label.
Yeah. If anything, there's 500,000 in that. That's, dear Christ, I'm turgid right now. Well done. Well done, Burnley Brewing. Absolutely tumescent and engorged. That is a fantastic coffee brown.
That's
well done.
That's pretty fucking close too, I've got to say, in terms of the label lineup.
Yeah, that is very good.
That's excellent.
We won't look at the other ones I had.
Let's
fantastic.
move on.
I can't. I'm actually emotionally flawed right now.
Well, you may as well. You're welcome to continue to enjoy it while we talk some trailer trash.
Let's talk some trailer trash.
Trailer trash. Got some good trailers actually, and some okay ones. Another Dune 2 trailer, or Dune Part 2 trailer. This one with more inter-house politics. I noticed like they were very much talking about House Atreides versus House Harkonnen, and then the Fremen. We got some more Christopher Walken action. I didn't actually know Christopher Walken was in Dune Part 2. But I think
I remember Dan saying something about him being in it.
I do love Christopher Walken as an actor. We got some Florence Pugh in it as well.
I felt this one was actually.
I'm pretty G'd up for this movie.
I really wish Dan was here because I know this would probably infuriate him to no end. So I'm going to use you for this, and then I'll message it to him later. But it really felt like
use
the difference.
Me, Tom.
Oh, I will. I'll use and abuse. It really felt like the difference between this. The trailers for Dune 1 and then the trailers for Dune 2, especially this one, really felt like the difference between the original Mad Max, like the original Mad Max, and then Mad Max 2. It's just like the amount of more action, which is not to say that Dune 1 did not have action, but the action shown in that trailer felt like a bit more explosive. Not like, I'm not saying it's going towards, Michael Bay ridiculous. It was in style.
It's not.
But it was a little less arty. And
I don't know if I would agree with that.
Oh, I know that people won't agree with this, and that's probably why I'm saying it. But like, I felt like the Dune 1's trailers were more about setting that the tone that they were trying to get from that universe and the glorious, like the really long shot landscapes and stuff. And I didn't get much of that, but I got more. Not that I feel like they needed to draw people in for this, but it was like trying to go like. Maybe Dune 1 was a bit slow for the general populace, and they're trying to get it like, here's a bit more fast paced.
I only recently rewatched Dune Part 1. Yeah. It's not slow. It's like I was engaged all the way through on the second round. So
I knew you guys wouldn't agree with it, but it's just that's the thing I got. It was like the difference between Mad Max 1 to Mad Max 2, where Mad Max 2 still had its, long bits of dialogue and like all that kind of stuff. And it wasn't just exploding. It wasn't Thunderdome, but I'm really hoping Dune 3 doesn't go down the Thunderdome. Suddenly Tina Turner's ghost appears and just starts screaming at everyone.
The colander bra and the fucking massive shoulder pads. It's such an epitome of kind of late 80s, early 90s style. No, what I was going to say I think would be really interesting to do would be to compare the first Dune Part 1 trailer to the first Dune Part 2 trailer, and then contrast that against this second round of trailers for both movies. Because this is the second Dune Part 2 trailer, and it has focus shifted quite a lot from the first trailer we got for Dune Part 2. I'd be interested to see if they're aligned between the first movie and the second movie in terms of the two trailers that have come out so far.
Yeah,
Because I do remember the sweeping shots you're talking about, but I also think there's quite a lot of sweeping shots in this latest trailer for Dune Part 2 as well. That you've got, the Fremen talking about Moadib and the big cheering with the, the gun rattling and all the rest of it. So there are some big sweeping scenes. There's also some big sweeping battle scenes in this latest trailer. So
I think that was the thing that drew me more towards that comparison was it seemed to focus more on those battle scenes. I will say I sent it to Dan because I knew he would be interested in it. I can send it to you as well. But I watched a very interesting video on part of the, I have a little like soft spot for sound editing and soundscapes and all that kind of stuff. And the sound editor talking about how he made the sound of the maw of the worms, and the way he did it, and it's beautiful. And he just tells it nonchalantly to the guys interviewing. He's like, yeah, well, I needed like a really dry sucking sound because obviously it's sand and it's arid like location. And it's just like all that sand going into that giant,
more.
He said Denny would tell us all the time that it's, 100,000 meter long worm or whatever, however long it was. And so what he did was he grabbed his little like lapel mic, just opened his throat and made this like noise and then passed it down like in as far into his throat it would go before he gagged on it, like just right back and dropped the mic in. And then he said he slowed it right down. He half slowed it and just modulated the pitch. And that is the sound of the Dune worms. And I was like, you're a fucking genius.
Seriously, man. Foley artists are... I'm pretty sure they're called Foley artists. I'm like really fucking creative people.
Creative, yeah.
The idea that all of the punch sounds that you got in the 80s and 90s and Kung Fu classics were someone slamming celery with a stick.
Yeah.
It's just like... Who the fuck came up with that?
Or like to get like walking on snow, instead of doing that, they like crunch on like walking on like crisp lettuce that's like fresh wet lettuce, all that kind of stuff. It's just like, how do you think of this shit?
Yeah. Agreed. And I think we've talked about in our Pixels and Pints fan chat. We're in fan chat. That's a really shit way to call it because that sounds just too full of ourselves. But in the WhatsApp group for friends and family of Pixels and Pints, we've talked about a couple of guys on YouTube that kind of pull apart the score from a lot of the stuff that we watch, and it's really interesting to see the soundscape design and then the score behind a lot of the stuff we watch. Is fascinating the way that the amount of thinking that goes into this stuff is just mind blowing.
That is very interesting you say that because I will regale everyone with a very boring tale for 20 seconds of that. Since we've moved into the new place, my TV and soundbar haven't been connecting like they used to. So they've got this thing where they connect and play off each other to get a richer soundscape.
Yep.
And every time we've used just the soundbar, it's been like super muffled audio for voices, but everything else is super clear. So it's like one of the 5.1 channels wasn't firing or something. Cracked the shits yesterday. And like was like, fuck this. I'm going to fix it. It's been too long. I'm sick of like getting halfway through a show and having to switch just to the TV speakers because they face back and our neighbor hates it. So sweet. I'm going to fix this. And playing around and exchanging all the HDMI ports and changing HDMI cables, doing all that kind of stuff and replaying it. And the one scene I used, because you want to use something that
the test scene.
You know what it sounds like. And for me, that's
Star Wars thing.
It was the start of the pod race. It was the start of the pod race where Sebulba cheats and then Qui-Gon picks Anakin up and they talk so I could get the audio and the soundtrack. But at one point, I got for some reason, something happened and I was getting no audio. So I just got like mouthing, but with the John Williams soundtrack going on. I was like, I actually kind of want to let this play because I want to watch the rest of the movie just like this, to see what it's like. Yeah. And it was like the symphonic piece without the, all the audio going on. Long story short, ended up doing a full factory reset on both the soundbar and the TV, and now it's fixed. So, long story short, if everything's fucking up, just factory reset, you'll be fine.
It was
dead on. It's good old switch it off, switch it on.
That was almost exactly 20 seconds, by the way, Tom. It's impressive. It's funny. I've found as I've gotten older, I watch more and more movies with subtitles.
Just going to let Jasper out for 2 seconds. Keep going.
You're right. I've noticed that I watch more and more shit with subtitles because I don't know if it's my hearing failing or not, but I just can't get clear audio for dialogue anymore. And I read an article recently that says that millennials more and more are watching movies with subtitles on. It's just a thing they do.
But also Amazon have come out and said that they have now introduced this new thing to make the audio like gel better, because they've been finding a lot of the newer films and newer TV shows are neglecting the speech audio.
Yeah,
when they're mixing. Yeah.
And so my amplifier has a setting where it improves the dialogue recognition in the center speaker by boosting kind of vocal ranges as opposed to like typical score ranges. But I find even so, in order to get dialogue to come through clearly in a comprehensible way, my brain can hear properly. And because I don't have a hearing problem, I've got a brain problem. That sounds really random, I know, but that's
letting that one alone.
That's the very short version. No, so as I've aged, I've found that if I sit in a noise-filled room, you sitting right next to me, speaking to me in a bar, I'll struggle to understand what you're saying. And it's not that I can't hear you, it's that my brain has trouble picking out your dialogue from the background din. And I find the same problem, and I find the same problem in some movies where there's dialogue with a lot of heavy background noise. And when I did all the audio tests and all the rest of it, it just turns out it's a brain thing. My brain has trouble picking out various specific dialogue threads in a big, heavy background like soundscape.
Yeah,
it's a brain thing, not a hearing thing. Anyway, let's move on to the next trailer. I don't know what the point there was, so I'm just going to abandon it. Retribution, which directed by Nimrod Antal, who directed Predators and Stranger Things, written by Alberto Marini and Chris Salmon-Paul, and starring Liam Neeson. It, to be honest, looks like another Taken
Liam
movie.
Neeson film.
Yeah.
Liam Neeson's at it again.
Yeah, it's just another Taken film.
Yeah, it's just Liam Neeson now going, I just want to be in action films. He's like, fuck it. I don't care. I've done my other things. Like, I just want to shoot a whole bunch of people before I can't, the arthritis gets to my fingers and I can't pull a trigger anymore. Yeah.
So now he's in a car with his two kids in the back, and there's bombs with pressure plates under the seats of all three of them. And there's
it's a Speed ripoff.
Yeah. And there's a terrorist telling him that he must do this and he must do that, or else he's going to blow up.
Pop quiz, hotshot.
But nowhere near as good as fucking Die Hard with a Vengeance. Yeah, I know what you're talking about, but just Die Hard with a Vengeance. So as soon as you say pop quiz, just Simple Simon was a pieman.
No, I always go straight to what's his name in Speed, just on the payphone. Pop quiz, hotshot. You got two bombs here. He doesn't talk like that at all. I apologize for that accent.
But no one cares.
No
it's
one
entertaining.
cares.
It's all
What's
about
the
the
next
entertainment.
one?
Bird Box Barcelona. So different producer, different director. I think two of the three writers are different from the original Bird Box movie, and none of the same actors. But one of the original writers is in this one, Josh Malerman, or wrote this one, Josh Malerman. So
this is the original film's the one where they're blindfolded.
Sandra Bullock, blindfolded, because if you see the aliens, you'll commit suicide.
Copy.
They affect your brain in some specific way it's almost The Happening with a better explanation. And I avoided watching Bird Box for a long time, and I only watched it about 6 weeks ago.
Yeah, never.
And I thoroughly fucking enjoyed it.
Right.
It was well written. Tension builds nicely. Like you get this kind of zombie movie community spirit sense really quickly, where like the world's ended and the 20 people the 20 randos that are stuck together in the shopping center suddenly bond very quickly as a result of being the only survivors. You kind of get that in Bird Box, and then suddenly bad shit happens.
Right.
I mean, Bird Box, the original, was the all-star cast. John Malkovich, Sandra Bullock, the list goes on. Bird Box Barcelona, it seems, I'll watch it. Why are you laughing? Because I'm lisping. That's how you're supposed to.
Every time you say Barcelona, I'm just like,
that's how you're supposed to pronounce it.
I know, it just sounds silly coming from
It sounds absolutely ridiculous to us Aussies, but that's how you're supposed to say it. Anyway, I don't know if it's a cash-in on the storyline or if it's a genuine kind of telling it from a completely different cultural perspective.
Film. It was the first one was a Netflix film. Okay.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. But I'm going to watch it just to see if it's a pop out or if it's like milking the cow, or if it's a genuine telling a similar story from a completely different cultural perspective, because this is obviously set in Spain now. Yeah. Anyway. Next one we won't spend too much time on. It's a horror movie called Cobweb.
Right.
From the producer of It and The Barbarian, and starring Anthony Starr, who plays Homelander in The Boys. Looks like a pretty fucking scary horror movie, and of the 2 horror movies that they're currently playing trailers for, this one won out on The Nun 2 by a country mile.
Oh, Lizzie Kaplan's in it too. Seen her in a bunch of stuff. How good.
Yeah, so I think this will be interesting if you're into horror films. If you're into kind of modern horror, this one looked like a decent-ish one. I think we had a really good round of grade A horror films, like modern horror films, and then we've kind of gone into B grade really quickly. So I'm hoping this kind of brings us back out of that slump I feel we're in personally.
I mean, isn't that one of those things that they whenever you have like a kind of like a nice run of the the A grade stuff, you get all those other people like
all the follow on.
Got to cash in on that. Let's go. Fucking.
But we had a bunch of really good James Wan horror films, and then just went off the deep end. So, and the next one is
this is fucking hilarious.
Very different. Kraven the Hunter had a red band trailer, and it just I'm really fucking looking forward to this. It just looks hardcore.
This, for me, is the exact same thing I'm going to go into with Rise of the Beast. I'm going to go in with a couple of beers, have a good time, and walk out going, that was dumb, but it was fucking entertaining as fuck. Yeah.
It's clearly a Marvel mutant story. Like he's a mutant.
It's still the Sony Marvel Spider-Man universe. Because Kraven is a Spider-Man villain, but for some reason they're giving him. He got bitten by a radioactive lion.
Yeah,
I guess we're saying
that's exactly what it looks like.
Yep,
that's exactly what it looks like. Yeah.
So he's embraced.
And I gotta say, as a CGI lion, that was a genuinely scary looking fucking lion. In that,
you do have to give him that. Yeah.
Like,
but it's what's his name? Jonathan, Aaron Taylor Johnson, not Jonathan Taylor Thomas. That's the guy from Home Improvement. I wish it was that kid coming.
And his dad, Russell Crowe.
Yeah.
So,
Russell Crowe is a Russian hunter. Like, how good. Like, what have we done to be born in the era where Russell Crowe gets to do a Russian bounty game hunter accent? Like, how lucky are we as human beings? That's all I can think of.
My son is weak. Let him die like a lost one.
like it's as bad as like GoldenEye era Russian. Like,
it's a terrible Russian accent.
It's classic 90s Russian. And it's also just seems like
short of stolishny.
It's almost like he's just going through the different European accents now in his roles, because he was Zeus. He had his horrible Greek accent.
Oh, it was a horrible Greek accent,
which he just based on Con the Fruiterer. Let's be completely honest.
Everything's sweet, mate.
Yeah, but okay. So Kraven the Hunter apparently now has superpowers. That's great. Okay,
yeah,
that's different from what.
Well, I think he has mutant powers, but yeah. I'm actually looking
the radioactive line.
It looked good. It looked good. And written by the guy who Steve Ditko, who wrote all of the Spider-Man movies. So the original trilogy with Tom Holland, Tom Holland, sorry, with
Raimi.
Thank you. It's
Steve Ditko's an old comic book writer, isn't he? Surely, I'm pretty sure that Steve Ditko he's a graphic novelist. Yeah.
Yeah, you're probably right.
He's dead.
He did write all three of the...
He died in 2018. I don't think he's been involved in the production of this film. Somehow, my detective skills are going off.
Spidey senses tingling. Well, fuck. Well,
Dicto was harmed in the making of this film. That's delicious.
He wrote all three... Well, he was credited with writing the Spider-Man movies along with Stan Lee. So obviously he was one of the original inventors of the Spider-Man franchise.
Yeah.
Which makes a lot of sense. Well, fuck. Okay. Well, then the writer... He
is the Spider-Man co-creator. There you go.
So the actual writer must be Matt Holloway, because Stan Lee and Steve Ditko are both credited with Kraven the Hunter as writers, and yet both of them have since passed on to the other side. So
yeah.
I was going to say Matt Holloway, and I think I did write this in the notes, is also responsible for writing Iron Man and Uncharted, Men in Black International, and Transformers: The Last Night. So he's no stranger to kind of this style of storytelling as well.
Yeah.
Anyway,
there we go.
Well, I feel a little embarrassed, but I'm looking forward to Kraven. That looked good. It just looked hardcore, like stabby, kill.
I'm just wondering if it's going to go down the. I still haven't seen Morbius, but the Morbius and the Venom line. I mean, given it's a Spider-Man.
Venom and Morbius are very different in terms of
Venom 2's not.
No, you're right. Venom 2 was pretty horrible, but Venom 1 was on the right side of stupidly, like stupid over the top. Morbius was horrendous. It was a really shit Blade.
Which is already saying something.
Well, hey, don't knock Blade. Blade was good. Hey,
Blade Trinity still has one of my favourite lines, which I will not utter on the show.
We know.
I don't say it anymore. I just say that I want people to think about it. The fact that I say that makes people in their heads go...
Think about the C word.
Yeah. Anyway.
The last one isn't a trailer, but we got a behind-the-scenes featurette on Rebel Moon, and it looks fucking spectacular. It really does. And Zack Snyder unleashing himself into his own universe.
Star Wars is what we're getting.
I hope he creates Snyderverse. I mean, for a start, it just sounds right. It just rolls off the tongue, the Snyderverse. I just hope that it launches an intellectual property that he can continue to capitalize on, because I think as a storyteller, Snyder is one of the better directors we have in Hollywood at the moment.
Yeah,
so giving him his own home.
Look, I'm excited for it, but it's just, it's just, I'm glad it's not. I think I agree with what you're saying, that I want it to be Snyder's thing. I don't want Snyder to be in Star Wars. Like, I want him to have his own thing.
Funnily enough, the behind the scenes, and maybe not so much the trailer, but the behind the scenes reminded me more of the Pitch Black universe than it did the
good, because I love
universe.
the Pitch Black universe as its own thing.
It's grittier, it's darker, it's still high science fiction. There's still a lot of shit going on in the universe, in a similar to Star Wars kind of way, but it's grittier.
Yeah.
No,
so I don't want Snyder to be roped into especially the confines of a Star Wars universe. Like there's so much he could trip and fall on, Abrams. Yeah. And you don't want him to go down that path. You want Snyder to be given his free reign, and I think that's where, unfortunately, the DC Snyderverse, that's where he was held back and reined in. Like, he wasn't given the free reign he needs to be given.
Fuck,
I think of
what we're saying.
What's the one with Abby Cornish we were talking about before? The 5 girls in the asylum.
Legion.
No. You're on the same lines. It's a Snyder film from back in the day. It's got Abby Cornish in it. It's got Dakota Fanning.
Oh God, that's gonna bug me now.
You look it up, but it's like that could have spawned its own spin-off, and I think they did some animated stuff around it. Whatever the series was.
Abby Cornish been in? It's not the Secret Bridesmaids business, that's for sure.
No, it wasn't that one. It was, but that
Seven Psychopaths.
No, it was.
I don't know what you're talking about now.
Come on, Peter, you're better than this.
It'll
Sucker Punch. It's the film. It's got the 5 girls who are in the insane asylum, but then they go into their own minds and they do like the crazy. It's like Matrix.
I was thinking. Yeah,
Sucker Punch.
That was a great movie. It was underrated. It was underrated.
Essentially underrated, but that is Snyder.
I didn't know that was a Snyder film, to be honest.
I'm 90%.
No, it is. I'm looking at it right now. It is a Snyder film. It was written and directed by him. I didn't realize it was.
But that could have been a perfect, like, giving Snyder like a little mini. That was kind of pre-universe things needed to exist. But fuck, I always wanted to see more of that.
Yeah,
The
hope
way
Rebel
they did
Moon
some of
does
those
launch
scenes,
its own little franchise. That'd be cool.
Yeah.
Speaking of franchises, our last trailer for Trailer Trash is Blade Runner 2033 Labyrinth. It was a teaser trailer. It almost looked anime-esque, the trailer.
This was the one we briefly talked about in the chat the other day. Which
We
is
did,
like,
and I didn't realize it was a video game. I thought you guys were talking about another movie.
No.
After 2032, but no, it's a video game trailer, and I'm interested to see how this turns out.
Because I'm pretty sure the studio, I've played one of the games that they've done before, which was super like walking based, text heavy detective style. Because I think it was The Life and Death of Edith Finch is the game that I've played from the same studio, which is one of those ones where
which
it's
Dan
like,
talked about as well. I think last episode or two.
Yeah, it's a brilliant game. It's short. You can smack it out in a day. It's like an afternoon. But it's a beautiful tale. The art direction they take for it is fantastic. But so if it's these guys looking after the Blade Runner franchise, then it's going to be a great tale to really stick your teeth into.
Yeah, and I didn't like I said, it's a reveal trailer, not a game trailer. So there's no in-game mechanics. I've got no idea what style of game it is yet. It's just it's a very nicely painted,
it's almost like a logo reveal. It's just we're doing this and we're the guys behind it.
But you got that real synth symphonic soundscape background while it was playing, and it reminded me a little bit of some of the smoother Animatrix style anime studios that did the Animatrix.
Mm-hmm.
I think there's a lot of potential there.
Yeah, I mean, judging off the game I've played for them before, they'll handle it like they'll handle the source material with reverence and respect. Like they won't just go and change things for the sake of changing things. They'll go back to original source materials to be like, well, cool, why do we make this decision? All that kind of stuff. They'll do their research. Like they're those kind of people.
Brings the revered franchise back to games for the first time in 25 years. So it's the first video game set in the Blade Runner universe in 25 years. Set between the original film and 2049, Blade Runner 33 takes place after the events of the Blackout and asks, what does a Blade Runner do when there are no replicants left to hunt? So, it's going to be a washed out detective with no impetus, no drive. Yeah.
What does Batman do when he's put everyone inside Arkham Asylum? It's like, okay, guess I just
goes a little crazy, right?
Well, I guess I just float around Arkham City and beat up randoms, that keep regenerating.
I get the impression that this guy, the detective in Blade Runner 2033, goes a little crazy.
Yeah, definitely feels like that.
So it ends up kind of being a psychological, withdrawals kind of story. So it's not due to be out until I think next year, but
no.
Yeah. Anyway,
just back onto the Rebel Moon thing in terms of the fact that it is Star Wars kind of esque and R-rated. I don't know if you saw recently that James Mangold, the director behind the Wolverine, beautiful Wolverine film we got, came out recently and said that he had originally written an R-rated Boba Fett film that Disney went, holy shit, we cannot make that. We can't do it. And he was like, I realized I went a little bit too far with that one, but
that would have been epic though. An R-rated Boba movie. Fuck yeah.
By the director of Logan,
fuck yeah.
That
would have been very Western, fastest gun in the West style.
That's the whole thing. Yeah, he was like, it was pure Western, Man with No Name style theme.
And Tatooine is that perfect planet to tell that story in too.
But yes, he came out and he said, I may have been a bit
overzealous in that.
That's maybe I'll do that as a fan film one day and not get any backing behind it or official thing. And it'll be like, it'll be Boba Fett. Yeah, Boba Fett.
Totally different.
Boba Fett, just to make sure there's nothing.
So there's no breaches of intellectual property rights. Yeah.
Yeah, and his armor will be blue and orange as opposed to red and green. There you go. Yeah, that's how you get around it. You're welcome, James Mangold, if you're listening, which you won't be, but never mind.
I'll tag him. You never know.
You never know. Just tag him in the comments. Yeah.
All right, let's move into our fourth beer. Now that we both have an empty glass. Dirty glass. And then we're going to our spotlight topic for the evening.
Luckily, my last beer is definitely going to overpower any flavors from the last one, so I will put up with the dirty glass, but always wash your glass. Don't be a grub like me.
Don't be a grub.
Don't be a bloody grub. Ooh, daddy like.
He's about Loki's about to get launched out of a window if he keeps meowing like that. Now this has got that head's very thick and very brown.
Ooh, give us a geese there, mate. Let's see what you get.
Yeah, it was a bad pour, but look at the head on that.
That's nice.
It's a shiny brown.
That's not bad from a dirty glass. I'll start. I am having Dainton's Red Dragon Red IPA. Peter, you've inspired me. It's a very nice little, lovely little can art. Little smauggy, little D&D focus. There are a couple of 12-sided die on there. A couple of skulls and stuff. So I can't actually read the back because it's written in very dark red on black. Hang on.
Right.
Here we go. Roll a 20 and enter a realm of bold flavor with fiery hops, notes of caramel, raisin, and rich red toffee malts. Red Dragon is the ultimate thirst slayer.
Okay.
So I've got some initial issues with that, I guess. If I'm really thirsty and I'm going to reach for a beer, which is obviously detrimental to my thirst because beer generally dehydrates you, no matter what the VV ads say. The last thing I'm going to reach for is a red IPA to refresh my palate. I'm going to reach for a
very dry and bitter,
a crisp Pilsner or maybe a light Australian pale. Tell you what, though, that does pour a rich ruby red. That is delicious.
It's a lovely colour.
Oh, that is great. And look, Dainton have a very long history of making really, really good, one-off beers. And I've never seen this beer before from them. It is
my relationship with Dainton's very hit and miss. I've loved some of their beers and I've fucking hated some of their beers.
Yeah, I've got another beer in the fridge of theirs that I'm very keen to try, and was very tempted to bring out for a fifth tonight. But you know what? It's Sunday, whatever. I don't care.
Whatever.
That has a really nice grapefruity characteristic straight up front to it. It then comes through with, like they said, a bunch of that rich red toffee and that maltiness coming through. At the back, there's something at the back there though.
Something that strikes a discordant note by the look of it.
It's not necessarily discordant. I'm just trying to place my tongue palate on it.
Place your tongue on it, Tom.
Place my tongue on it. It is. It's like that. It's the bitterness of the toffee hitting the sweetness of the citrus, and it kind of goes a little bit discordant at the back there. It's too much happening at once.
Yeah,
and that's its own. It's the problem of there's these really bold flavors up front and right at the middle, like the upper middle, and then it's hitting the back palate, and it's just like, oh shit, I can't comprehend everything that's going on right at once. And you know, that's not to say that it's not a good tasting beer. It's just it's like a weird question mark at the end of the beer, that kind of feeling of
yeah, I do.
It almost is borderline herbal tasting, but definitely not say the space cake we had last episode. It's not that kind of
vegetal.
That's weird vegetal herbal. It's definitely just that toffee, that bitterness of that toffee caramel note coming through and hitting that quite strong citrus grapefruit, which in itself is interesting. I imagine that's what it's that 3 layers of being burnt by dragonfire. Initially it burns and then you go, well, this kind of doesn't know, and then you're a crispy little thing at the end. So
you're a husk.
Yeah, just a husk. I'm going to give that a 4 because that toffee, initial toffee and grapefruit are really, really nice, and a step up from each other. It would have probably been higher if they just melded a little better at the back. The only way I can describe that for those playing at home. But
makes sense.
Good. I definitely at the end I rolled a natural 2 at the end there.
Natural 2. Okay, fair enough.
D&D joke for those playing at home, which I probably got wrong
because you're still yet to play D&D with us. We must. That'll be
true. What have you got?
I've got a night ender of a beer.
It's also quite crushable. I could. What did I say it was? 6.5. I could smash that.
This, on the other hand, I could not. So I am drinking Goodland Brewing, who we've never had on the podcast, I might add. I don't know if you can see that. It's a very shiny can. It's very like paints.
They have cool can designs. I've had a few of these.
Yeah, it is kind of a cool can design. It's like metallic gold and non-metallic gold on like a green and very, very dark green or black background.
Mm-hmm.
This is a Gezellig, which is a barrel-aged stout at 1,000,000%. What is it?
1,000,000%.
Million percent. 11.4 on a 440ml can. This is going to take me out for the night. Sorry, I'm suddenly feeling very sinusy. I don't know why.
It's all those cat hairs that were in your sinuses before.
Yeah, probably. This is lovely in the way that only bourbon barrel aged stouts could be lovely. This is very vanilla, but a shitload of bourbon barrel. Like, you really cop the bourbon.
So the only beer I've had from Goodland personally was in the Carwin Advent calendar, I think it was.
Mm-hmm.
It was one of the Advent calendars last year, and it was a English barley wine at 10%, and it smacked me for 6. So, I mean,
I expect this will smack me for 6 as well.
Yeah,
but it's quite lovely. I mean, there's a lot of vanilla. There's a lot of chocolate, a lot of cocoa chocolate, like rich chocolate notes. But it's very, very sweet, but not in a chocolate sweet. It's just kind of lactose sweet. But the bourbon really does carry through. Like, it's got that acidic bourbon burn through it. And at 11.4%, it's kind of unsurprising that it kind of embraces that burn. I'm going to be interested to see how this warms up, but
they do say here on the Untapped that was brewed and packaged for their first anniversary, so it's like their birthday beer.
Yeah, right.
Yeah,
it's a good beer for
what a way to celebrate your birthday. Yeah,
and it's fucking well constructed. That's impressive, knowing that they're only a year old as a brewery. That's really impressive. Yeah, I'm going to have to give that a 4.5.
Nice.
Excuse me. It's nicely layered. Vanilla, chocolate, bourbon in that order, with the burn carrying through. Yeah, I'm very impressed.
Just trying to see when they actually released it. Looks like it maybe this time last year, maybe a bit later. The looks of things. So yeah, they're about a year and a half
best
old.
Before the 14th of the 7th, 2022. No, that can't be best before. No, best cheeky fuckers. Best before the 14th of July, 2032.
Yeah, they know what they're talking about then. So anyway. I would assume that it was actually brewed. It was released 14th of July 21.
2000. Yeah. Or they put a 10-year on it, and it's 22.
Or 10 year after the year, you generally give a beer. You give a beer a year, and then they give it 10 on top of that. Yeah,
you're probably right. Yeah.
Cool.
Gezellig, good beer. Don't know what Gezellig means. Let's move on to our spotlight. This is going to be not the longest spotlight, not the shortest spotlight. We're 45 minutes in, which I don't know how the fuck we got to 45 minutes before getting to the spotlight. But anyway, this is video game pet peeves.
Gezellig is Dutch for pleasant.
Okay.
You're welcome. Thank you, Google. Well done.
Thank you, Google. I'm going to leave it alone. Video game pet peeves. Is our spotlight.
Yeah, so this
we have talked about this a little bit before.
We
but
have,
just not enough.
And I think we've covered this in different ways over the years. But this
and we don't have Grumpy Grandpa to join us for this episode either, which is a bit of a shame because
it's probably also for the best because this list would be about 3 miles longer.
Yeah.
This came about literally. Pete and I talking this afternoon about what we were going to record and talk about when Dan said he couldn't join us. And because originally the spotlight we had for this episode as I'm sure you guys would have guessed, would have been us talking all about finishing Jedi Survivor. But that'll be next time. And I
in a surprising package.
Yeah. Complete surprise to every listener that we were going to do a deep dive dissect of Jedi Survivor. Doesn't sound like us at all. But no, Pete and I messaged this afternoon. He was like, "Oh, have you got a spotlight?" And I was like, "Well," and I looked in. I've got a little notes app, page there that I have all the things, podcast notes.
I've got the same.
And the thing that I had written on the top things were parts of games that make you walk instead of letting you run when you normally go at a run. And it's just like, fuck that. That annoys me. And then recently I've been playing a lot of, mid to late PS4, like early PS4, like late PS3, PS4 games. And they constantly have, the guard dog as the enemy that you have to. The only way you can get past the guard dog is to brutally murder this innocent animal. And 10 years ago when I was playing on the PS3 and didn't have a dog, I was like, whatever, didn't faze me. Now being a dog owner, I'm like, it's actually a bit fucked. And I actually don't enjoy it as much as it, I think it's a bit of a tired and overused trope. Was where this thinking came from. And then lo and behold, we both had lists, a mile long of things of like, yeah, well, I fucking hate this. I also hate this.
Pet peeves in video
You
games.
hate this, but I might not hate this, and and that's where we've ended up with. So
yeah.
Look, we'll start at the top, which was walking sections instead of letting you run. So, normally in a video game, you get to go at least at a trot. Let's say a trot is the best way to describe it. Half jogging, half running, infinite stamina. Not something I could actually do in real life because, I'd get halfway down the road and go, that's a bit tough. Maybe we slow down a bit and go at a lovely paced walk. But then you get to somewhere like a settlement, or you go back to your base, or you go...
Red Dead Redemption, as soon as you're within a kilometer of your fucking home base, you have to walk.
Yeah.
And in fact, there's so many missions. Sorry, you just
jump right in. This is exactly what I want.
This is triggered.
Visceral fucking hate.
So there's a bunch of missions. In order to get in order to get the platinum trophy, you need to get a bunch of gold medals in various missions through RDR2. And a lot of those missions are timed. You have to finish the mission in this, or you have to finish this segment in a certain amount of time. You have to start in this segment this amount of time. And a lot of them revolve around ending the mission in your home base. But as soon as you get to the perimeter of your base, instead of sprinting or galloping on your horse, you slow down to this fucking slow walk. And so many missions, so many missions are timed around, well, actually, instead of going to the base, why don't you go all the way around the very edge of the cliff face to enter the base right at the point where their mission ends, because that's the only way you can get the gold medal. It's just so fucking annoying. Death Stranding was the same. Death Stranding, there's so many missions where you have to fucking walk at a snail's pace instead of run because you're carrying too much shit on your backpack. It's just fucking annoying.
Well, I mean, we go back to any sort of those like RPGs like Skyrim. It's like you suddenly become over encumbered. You're like,
oh, well, encumbrance I can understand as a conceptual game mechanic.
You think about, but also you think about different games. Like you think about those RPGs like Skyrim. Skyrim's a perfect example of that, where you suddenly go just 0.5 over your 100 liters.
Yeah, half a kilo over, and suddenly you've gone from running to like
you cannot move faster than a snail's pace. But you think about, playing a game like, let's say Horizon, where it's like, well, I've got full ammo for every single of the 18 weapons I have on me right now.
And the 18 weapons, where the fuck are they going?
Yeah. And there's many funny cartoons in especially in like the gaming parody comic world of, a Link from Legend of Zelda, and he's just got this backpack that's just filled with shit, and he's just like, I'm ready to go. It's like, yes, of course, there's that element of, like belief into like, yes, this guy can carry 18 bombs on him without having that are the size of bowling balls without it slowing him down. Like, yes, there's that disbelief kind of thing. But encumbrance is definitely one of those things that jumps in. The thing that I think it was for me with the, especially with the idea of like walking sections that when you normally go at a run would be like, as you said, getting back to your home base because if I think about it, when I'm getting home,
That's
like,
when you're racing the most.
well, not even that, but when I get into my house, especially in a video game where I can do stupid shit like just drop roll everywhere, jump off something, backflip, whatever. That's the shit I'm going to do in my home base or in my house if I could. If I was walking down my hallway and everyone was like, oh, we're going to go out, I'd be like, well, cool, I'm going to wall run around you. See you later. Bye-bye. I'm going straight to the beer fridge. Like, you know, this is where I do the dumbest shit because the public isn't there to watch me. Like, why would I do the same in my role-playing game in my home base? Like, yeah, if I want to drop roll into someone 1,000 times who's there cooking at the fire, making the stew for everyone, because I'm a pest, why can't I do that in my role-playing game? It's just like suddenly I'm like, no, your homestead's sacred. You can't do any of your silly shenanigans shit here, Mr. Game Player. Like, you know, you act normal now. Like, you walk around like it's no one's business. But then there's some games who, like, let you do that shit, but then when you start acting the fool. So I was in actually playing Dishonored, the DLC last night, and normally you can go through and you just sneak, just pickpocket everyone, take all their gold. Fuck yeah, that's mine. But if you did it in this home base, all of a sudden everyone went, "Hey, fuck you," and turned on you, and I was like, "Oh, that's actually kind of believable. That's good. Like that's okay. I can't be a dick in this homestead like now
when you're home. Yeah.
It's like, you know, it's that kind of treat your home with respect kind of thing, except it's, you know, it's a video game, so it's like I'm going to take a shit on the floor and fuck you. There's nothing you can stop me from doing that. But yeah, it's and I know normally those walking sections, they are for story beats. We talked about this later. We're going to get into it later?
Yeah.
Is that later down the line? Oh, it is. Yeah. Well, I have jumped ahead. Anyway.
I have lots of walking issues in video games, but we should talk about your dogs.
Yes, dogs as enemies was it's like that late PS3, mid PS4 thing. Every single game had to have a guard dog element to it.
German Shepherd.
Usually a German Shepherd or some wolfhound looking thing. And it's just like, it's you know, it's a negative stereotype that doesn't need to be perpetrated in
unless it's a pit bull, an American pit bull, which is a stereotype that should be
yes
reinforced.
And no. A lot of and this is a bigger topic that we probably should get into.
Some political implications to that, really, these days.
But a lot of that comes down to the way the dog is treated, and a lot of those dogs are abused in whatever lifestyle they're doing. Like we had a German Shepherd live down the street from us, and it was a rescue after working either some sort of military or police, and it was fucking like traumatized to the shit. Like, you couldn't walk past it without it going off. And it's like, that's not that poor fucking dog's fault.
And yet I've met some absolutely gorgeous long-haired German Shepherds before.
Yeah,
so
yeah. They are a protective breed, and that's why they get used for those kind of things.
With the American pit bulls, I would have a different conversation about if we were talking about those.
Luckily, we're not pet behavioralist podcast. We're not going to go right into that. So we're not going to, but we're not sort of, but it's still that stereotype of savage dog attack. It's like, most dogs don't want to do that. They just want to come up and say hi, wag their tail, and hopefully get some food off you.
Some treats.
Yes, a treat would be delightful.
I've been a good boy.
Yeah, 100%. And I do the same thing. I wag my tail and go, I've been a good boy too. And they go, Tom, please stop, get out of my house. And I go, okay.
Weird. Yeah.
Yes, very weird. But no, it just feels a bit lazy these days, especially.
There hasn't been too many recently.
But I've having gone back and seen how many video games used it in that.
I'm sure there's an Uncharted fucking link there, and I'm sure there's dogs in Uncharted.
Oh, almost
and
every
Far
game.
Cry and
Far Cry used every single animal known to man. Don't you worry, it wasn't just dogs. That was actually the best part about them. But it was
But The Last of Us 2 definitely had German Shepherds in it.
Yes. And playing Dishonored, they have these wolfhounds in it. And then before that, I was playing through Far Cry and then also playing through Wolfenstein. And it was just, but I think it was the thing that got me was just like the unnecessary kill animations for them. Like, yeah, it was, but that was the thing that got me more than stabbing a dude in the neck. It was just like, grab the dog while it's sleeping and stab it. It's like, oh, that's a bit fucking rough.
Oh, wow.
But you creep up behind a dude who's like sitting in a chair, stab him in the throat. It's like, oh, well, he deserved it. He was a Nazi. Yeah. I think that was the thing that got me. And
interesting. Okay.
Yeah, I found it as the more I got through the bunch of these old games that I'd never played, and maybe full on me for not playing them earlier, but it was just kind of like going through them now. I was just like, oh, that's just it's lazy,
unnecessary, and
lazy game mechanic trope. It's like you don't need a guard dog in this. You could just have, I don't know, like just have another roving human guard. Like they're just the same in terms of like the mechanic of the gameplay. It's just like,
I think so. So it's interesting you say that. Last of Us 2, the dogs pissed me off because you were playing a stealth game. You were hiding in the grass, and the dogs could sniff you out in the grass. So mechanically, it actually made a lot of sense. There was a reason to have the dogs in the game.
No, and the dogs usually can smell you out, but it's just like I don't know. I'd rather, I guess it came from me, obviously being a dog owner, being like,
you'd rather kill a person than an animal.
Dog,
I agree. The next one we talked about a couple of episodes ago, which was the tinnitus or tinnitus kind of recreations in games. That's a pet hate for you because you have tinnitus. You suffer from tinnitus.
Well, did I tell you I went to the doctor about this?
No.
I went to a hearing specialist.
Okay.
So it was post-COVID. I really had this really bad tinnitus. Went to the ear specialist and they took a look and they did the look through my ears and they go, there's no abnormal scarring. There's nothing wrong with your eardrum. They go, but there's been a bunch of people aged, 25 to 40 who have come in post-COVID who had this really bad tinnitus. And they're just like, it goes away eventually.
Wow.
I was like, cool. Thanks.
Wow. Okay.
So that's where that came from.
This is the hearing episode because I talked about my ear doctor earlier, and I have suffered from a different kind of tinnitus than the typical presentation, which is the ringing sound. I hear like surf sounds, like really loud white noise. And I've had dreams that have been white noise dreams so loud and that they've gotten scary and woken me up as if it was a nightmare. And it was just from white noise sounds in my ears. And yet have recently gone to an ear doctor and said everything was fine. So
apparently it's this weird post-COVID thing. Yeah. So I know it was, but
fucking cat.
There's a cat there.
Not
that's
anymore.
an enemy. Don't stab that in the throat.
Punch him in the throat sometimes, but no, I'm not going to stab him in the throat.
But yeah, so but that tinnitus, like when it was happening to me, it was savage. I can only imagine someone trying to play any form of shooter game with actual tinnitus, and
go on Reddit. It's
the pain
it causes,
they must feel. Yeah,
but it's not just pain; it's also anxiety.
Oh, you didn't know when it was going to happen. Yeah,
a lot of people suffer from an anxiousness that their tinnitus is about to kick in, even if it's not. So apart from suffering from the actual ringing in their ears and the inability to sleep or function or think, they also suffer from anxiety that it's about to strike, even when it's not.
That's why I think it was such a good thing for those accessibility changes to games they brought in. They had an option to reduce that tinnitus sound.
So the next fucking pet peeve that I have is all about walking. We're going to spend a lot of time walking in this fucking spotlight.
Oh, well, let's not get into walking simulators. Those games I've played, the ones where you are forced to only
Lord
go
of the
walk.
Rings video games. Yeah, no. We're talking more about missions.
One can simply not walk into Mordor.
Missions where you have to follow or escort an NPC.
Fucking NPC, either the slowest or the fastest absolute dickheads in the universe.
They're always the slowest. You have to go from A to B, and that fucker walks
they go,
super
we'll meet
slow.
you there, and then all of a sudden they teleport.
I'm cool with that because I can skip all the bullshit in between. Yeah. I'm cool with the teleporting. It's you cannot walk too fast, or they're behind you and you fail the mission. That's Red Dead 2. Or you
get too far behind them and you fail the mission.
Yep. Or you walk, so your walk pace is slower than their walk pace.
Yeah.
But then you got to run and you outrun them instantly. So you end up in this awkward stop, start while this fucker walks. And that was all of, oh gosh, what was the Japanese RPG game that we all fucking loved? That happened all the time in that game. the game set in Japan, Ghost of Tsushima. Thank you. Ghost of Tsushima was like that. It was so many escort missions where your walk was slower than his walk, your run was so much faster than his, and you ended up in this stop start.
Or they got on a horse and then they got stuck behind a tree, and then you had to go back and like circle around them so they could be pushed from behind the tree.
Fucking like
because they had this like tank circumference around them that they had to.
Yeah. So any mission where you have to escort an NPC and their travel pace is shit. Drove me fucking nuts. Usually because they're too slow.
Not 90% of the time. It is just you go cool. I know exactly where we need to go, and you expect the game to go like,
let's just get there, motherfucker.
Let's get there. But if we're bringing this person with them, they're going to jump with you.
Yep.
And then there's the other missions that I think are more frustrating than just walking someone are the ones where it's just like halfway along the way we're going to run into some enemies you need to defend your character from.
Yeah.
And dare not go too far, otherwise your enemy who's very slow and the enemy you need to fight are literally just waiting for that person to walk into section 38.
That person, not you, that person. So
you can't trigger it early to
you can't even run ahead, that's right.
Yeah.
So that shits me. The whole lore dump on the mission while walking shits me. Because
which is where normally those slow walking segments come in. They just want to do an expose. That's the one. Dump on you, or they want to tell a big chunk of story while you guys walk from Temple A to Temple B.
But the story is always like
it's personal.
So in RDR2, But in RDR2, it'd be like, I'm going to tell you 3/4 of the story before, and then we're going to get there to the destination, and you're never going to hear the end of the story. Or I'm going to tell you 100% of the story at 3/4 of the way there, and it's going to be awkward silence for the rest of the trip. It's just poorly scripted all the way through. Or I'm going to stop in the middle of my story to fight the random encounter that crossed the road, and then after the random encounter, I'm going to wait 5 seconds of awkward silence, and then just re-enter the story like nothing happened.
So there were a few games that combated this recently. In terms of like trying to avoid story dumps, if I wanted to play Sui style and not listen to a single aspect of the story whatsoever, the most recent
the lore, I'm just here for the trophy.
Exactly. The most recent Far Cry games have been really good at like if you skip the entire conversation when they're telling you what's happening for a mission, they go, all right, you've got things to do. Fuck you. And they're like, they get a bit offended and they go, but whatever, do the fetch quest you need to do for me. God of War in the boat, or when you were traveling around, and like Mimir would tell you a story, but if you hopped out mid-story, he'd go, gonna take a pause. Then when you got back in the boat,
we'll pick up the story when we're back. Yeah. I like the way
saying,
they
lad,
dealt with it.
You bumble through this and you bumble through that. Which that was very, very clever.
That was quite seamlessly delivered, actually. They did a good job on God of War.
Very, very
1
well.
and 2.
Yeah, and then there was another game I had which did the same thing, and it'd be like you're running along with someone. It'd be in my list of recent games, and I can't think of it off the top of my head right now, but it'd be like you'd fight along, and then they go, hold that thought, you do the fight, and then they'd actually go, as I was saying, and it'd be like either over the phone. Oh, actually, it was in Far Cry again. In the later Far Cry games, it'd be like someone randomly calls you and goes, "Hey, I need to do this mission," and you go, "Hang on 1 second." Brrr. Sorry, what was that? And it goes like really lifelike like that. It'd be like it'd be like us talking on the phone, and then I go, "Hey, Pete, just hang on 1 second.
I'll be right. Yeah.
What do you want? Yep, cool. Don't care.
I'll be right
cool.
back.
Thank you.
What do you want, Emma? Yeah.
Yeah, it's so that's actually turned around, which I think is very clever from game developers to realize that not all of us have the time of day to listen to long winding stories as we walk along at a snail's pace. We want to get through the main story mostly. And that'd be also like a lot of those games going the feedback online like aspect of thing. And like they get to see those stats of how many people actually stopped and listened to character X talk about this or character Y talk about that. And then they go, oh, cool. Like if we can make it a quicker exchange of information. Yeah.
Yeah. I'm just not a huge fan of some of these things. Like it's extra lore. A lot of the time it's not even core storyline messaging. It's extra lore and it's kind of forced down your throat in that sense. So yeah. That can be annoying. I'm going to move on to the next pet peeve I have is really around cutscenes. And there's
I don't
two
think it's
styles
a
of.
pet peeve. I think it's a burning
It is for
hatred that
me.
lives in all of us.
Yeah, just unskippable cutscenes. If I have to watch the cutscene more than once,
especially after you've already watched it once and then you've died, and then you have to
drives
watch it again.
me fucking nuts having to slow walk through that shit. If it's
nothing
content,
prepares you more for a boss fight than having to watch their and the one of the
lead
best
in
the one of the best
times.
memes I've ever seen about it was the Scarlet Witch versus Thanos, and he's been like, I have no idea who you are, and she's like, you took everything from me, and it's like, you're Thanos, like she's the villain, and it's just like, because you keep skipping that cutscene of the him like the villain like doing that speech.
All that reminds me of the end of the first Doctor Strange. Like, can we just skip through the bullshit of like killing me? Yeah.
Dormammu, I've come to bargain.
Yeah, it's just so unskippable cutscenes. If I'm not interacting with the game, don't force me to fucking watch it at your pace.
Yes.
End of conversation. And the other,
it's actually more frustrating, I think, than unskippable cutscenes in a game. It's having certain cutscenes that are unskippable when others are, because they lead you in with a false sense of security, thinking you can get through this fucking bullshit. So Dishonored 2, which I've just been playing, is a perfect example of that. There's certain cutscenes you can't, and you have to go through like I got to walk through the journey of this fucking character, and you go from blah 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 blah, and it's just and then you get stuck in a cutscene. You're like, skip. I've already. This is my third playthrough. I've already seen this. I
can't skip that shit.
Nope.
Can't skip that shit. Nope, not this time. The other thing is cutscenes you can't pause. So it's the opposite end of the spectrum, but sometimes there's storyline cutscenes right when bladder strikes, and you're just like, or the door knocks, or something happens, and you just want to be able to pause that shit.
Yeah.
And there are some games out there where they're unpausable cutscenes, or the pause button skips the cutscene. So it's the complete opposite end of that kind of gripe.
It's just not thinking about like the real
people
life of
are
gamers.
living real lives
Yeah.
while playing video games. Yeah. My last 2 points.
Oh, do point 1 and then point 2. I'm point 1. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah. I'm not gonna roll them into each other. So games where you can't choose some difficulty levels until you finish the game. So you can't play Jedi. I'm pretty sure both Jedi Survivor and Jedi Fallen Order, you can't play the final difficulty,
Grandmaster level without
finishing the game first. And it's like I'm not a princess. I'm a big boy. I can choose if I've got big boy pants on. I shouldn't have to play the whole game the first time round.
That is true. Normally, I mean, I'm just one of those people who I know that normal is the level the developer picks. So that's why I always play through the game first, especially if it's got multiple playthroughs. I always play for the first one normal, because I want to see how the developer wanted to play it. The prime example for me of listening to the developer and not being able to go into the absolute hardest level first for me is still going to be Doom 2016 and the UAC Nightmare, which is that one that, like, Dan, I think, is still impressed that I finished that first mission on Nightmare. I could never have played the game on that. Like, it's literally like it's 2 hits and you're dead. Or like there's permadeath modes and stuff. It's just like, that they're thinking as a developer that no matter how good you are, that anyone playing a permadeath mode is going to get like maybe their 4th death through and go, fuck this, I'm never playing this again. Like, and I get that kind of thing. I think permadeath is probably the exception to that rule. But I
also think stupid difficulty is not an excuse for it's not additional content either. And I think it should be discouraged from developers to treat it as if, here's more content for these guys. I'll just ramp up the damage you take and reduce the damage.
I don't know if I agree with that, because I think it really does. Like, if you ramp up the settings on everything and make it, an enemy's super hyper aware or super hard
Nightmare
to beat.
difficulty.
Yeah, like I actually don't know if that's. If I know you wouldn't consider it a different game, but it's definitely a different style of gameplay that you have to consider.
I just don't think you need to put it behind a wall where I have to have already played the game once through to get there. Now, there aren't many games that require you to play it on top tier difficulty to get the platinum trophy, and you have to have played the game on a previous difficulty to get to that top
second
tier difficulty.
playthrough.
But there are
That's a different story. Yeah.
But there are a couple of games that are like that where you have to play it 2 times through. So, Force Unleashed 2 from memory.
Yes, you played on every difficulty. But if you played it on 1 and then you played it on the highest, it's stacked.
Yeah, but you have to play it 2 times through.
Yes.
To get the platinum. And to me, it was like, why lock the most difficult difficulty behind a wall? That's just seems stupid to me. There's no storyline reason for it. It was a developer choice and purely a developer choice.
Yeah, I literally think it's trying to get people into it. It's trying to get people to go, oh, cool, I did that the first time. I thought it was easy. Oh, sweet, I'll try the challenge mode and see how good I am.
Yeah, maybe. I don't. It's a pet peeve of mine. I don't understand why you need to do it that way. The last one is kind of linked, but not. Missable trophies.
Yes. I
just don't understand the need to build missable trophies into your games in 2023 when, like, most games these days have kind of open exploration mode at the end after you finish the game. It's already a narrative breaker. Jedi Survivor was a narrative breaker. At the end of the game, some stuff's happened.
There's no reason to every planet, everything. Yeah.
There's no reason why 6 months after the fact you would be having the same scripted story conversations with the same main characters to talk about most recent events that happened 6 months prior. So you're already breaking that kind of continuity. Why have any missable trophies at all?
The only ones I get that through, and the only ones that really annoy me with that, because I'm actually usually not too annoyed by that, the ones where, like, Evil West is the perfect example, where I couldn't turn around if I literally went past the thing and then turned around and saw the shiny thing and went, oh, I need to go back and grab that. But I couldn't jump up this ledge when I could punch through a vampire's face. It's like, that breaks the character for me, that kind of thing. Those really super linear, like, gameplay style games where you just, like, if you don't pick it up on your first time through, you have to replay the whole thing, and it's just kind of like, cool.
Why? It doesn't add anything to the game. It just,
but especially when I can see it when I turn around, so it's like kind of like a fuck you. It's like, oh well, hey pal,
you should have had that thought 10 seconds prior.
Yeah, so I didn't check behind that waterfall that one time, but then on my second time through, I can check, and now I get it. It's just like, well, all right, whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah,
that's another overused trope too. Is the fucking every waterfall in every game has something behind it.
Yeah, but now it's kind of like for me, it's almost like a second response.
Yeah.
The amount of times I walk around a space and be like Guardians of the Galaxy.
I know where all the shit's going to be hidden.
Guardians of the Galaxy, that Square Enix one's a perfect example where you start walking down a path and Rocket's yelling at you, being like, "Can't go that way, man. Don't do it. It's not worth it." And I go, fuck you.
That's the way you need to go.
Developer works. And I go down the end and I find the thing, and he goes, "Did you find anything?" He's like, "Not really." He goes, "Yeah, I fucking told you so." But that's the game pointing fun of itself, which is fun.
Yeah.
But yes, I don't find missable trophies as, I guess, annoying as I think I probably would. Especially if they are, I guess, like Survivors, like the perfect example where it's like, that's a bad example of like somewhere where you would have a missable trophy. It's like,
there's only one missable trophy in Survivor.
Yes, and which is the one that Dan has to get. Yes, yeah.
And I think that you could have easily invented a better trophy and just not had that as a trophy at all.
Yeah, I think I'm thinking more exploration ones, especially in big RPGs where it's like, there's nothing worse than being in a big RPG and you have like a certain area that gets like obliterated, and then suddenly you can go back and explore it in a like slightly different way, but you can't get to like one thing. It's like, so my dude can cut a dragon in half, but he can't break that little bit of like
you're
debris
practically
apart.
omnipotent, omnipotent.
Yep.
By the end, Jesus, it's a fucking 12% beer kicking in.
Mm.
You're practically omnipotent by the end of most video games, and yet you can't go back and do something simple like that. Yeah.
Yeah, there was actually one of the best memes I've seen recently was it's Cal talking to BD and he's like, "Oh shit, bud, this door's closed," and he's like booping it, being like, "Can't get through there," and then it's just the Force goes to Qui-Gon, being like, "Cut through it, just put your lightsaber to it, do what I did in episode
Stab
1,
it.
you idiot."
Yep.
Yeah, look, there are plenty of
Survivor.
like, and we'll never stop talking about them. The amount of pet peeves we have with video games, we'll also never stop playing them.
True,
that is 100% true. But yes, there are certain things I think can grow up, but which we talked about. And look, the next time I play a game where I have to walk instead of going at my usual trot, I will. I'm going to heavily tweet at the game designer.
The game developers. Fuck you!
I might even threaded them. Might just hit them on two fronts like a pincer attack. Like, get those. Cop this, you fuckers.
It's funny you talk about game designers. I watched it was a random video that got offered to me on YouTube based on the algorithm, and it was...
Please, sir, have this random video.
Yeah, it was a speed run of a Hitman level, and the game developer of the Hitman level was responding to it, and she's like, she watched this thing and she's like, yeah, that level took a year to develop. And it was a 60-second video.
Man, speedrunners are a next level form
it was
of
less
humanity.
than 60 second. I'm sure it was like, it was 6 seconds. He took 6 seconds to defeat a Hitman level that took her a year to develop, or her and her team.
There is actually, talking about speedrunners, and I didn't bring this up in the news because I don't know how much it really applies to us, but there is the Australian Speedrunners like marathon conference coming up in the next week or so. And it goes over like 5 days, but if anyone wants to watch it, they are doing a bunch of donarities. I just combined donations and charities into the one word. Wow, I am a genius. No, they're doing a bunch of donations to charities for research into cancer treatments. So if you want to sponsor someone who does a speed run that you know of, and like watching something like I love watching Zelda speedrunners. I don't know why. I just think they're geniuses the way they think about like the way to break those games. But yeah, there's 5 days of it coming up. And yeah, you can put some coin towards a good cause. So there you go. That's my last little bit. Before we get into Peter, are you winning, son?
I have very recently won Jedi Survivor, but we're going to reserve that for a whole episode.
Yes.
That's all I have played in the last 3 weeks is Jedi Survivor. But what's more interesting is what's next for me. So I've got Red Dead Redemption 2 to finish, obviously, and I'm only in Chapter 3 of 8.
Still? Oh, I guess you did play 3 weeks of Survivor. Sorry, that's very rude of me.
Yeah, no, I stopped. But the question is, do I go back to that, or do I go into? So I've decided I'm going to buy an Xbox Series X for Starfield.
Yes,
and there is one Xbox exclusive game that I really, really, really wanted to play that I'm thinking maybe I should play now in the lead up to Starfield, and that is High on Life.
They're just about to release a DLC for it, which is horror themed as well.
I know they are. So I'm thinking my next game's going to be High on Life.
Okay. But
RDR2 is going to be one of those games.
Put it on the back burner. Just something you come back to.
I just slowly play while I'm really pissed and just need something to just sit back and enjoy the beauty of.
Especially the way you talk about how you're playing it, in that you are taking it super slow. You are just going through everything.
Just exploring the world and just enjoying the sunsets. And I really am.
Yep.
So I suspect my next game's going to be High on Life.
Ooh, fat controller and all.
Yeah, that's right. Because they're about to bump the price of the Xbox Series X in Australia, I think, end of this month. So we said.
Yeah, we talked about that, yeah.
But, jacking the price $50 and an $800 console is neither here nor there. It's just,
They're also updating the price of Game Pass as well.
Yeah, the ongoing subscription fees. Yeah, I haven't even looked into what that requires or what I care about.
$18 a month, I think, if you want that. They are having
I don't want that.
Sale,
so it's going to be whatever is the minimum cost to play the fucking.
They are having a sale soon for new subscribers, which is the $1. You pay $1 to join up. You get a month for $1.
Okay,
I'll send you the link.
Please.
Well done, Tom.
Well done, Tom. Tom, are you winning, son?
Oh yes, I'm enjoying what I'm playing at the moment. I'm going through the Dishonored series. I've never played them. They're older games. Dishonored 1 was PS3. I briefly talked about it last episode.
You did.
Dishonored 2 is the sequel to that. I haven't enjoyed Dishonored 2 as much as I enjoyed Dishonored 1. Definitely for those who want to get the platinum of it, and I can hear Dan crawling into himself as I say that. You have to do the 2 playthroughs. So you do a high chaos playthrough and a low chaos playthrough. High chaos is kill everyone, kill everything. If it moves, kill it. Stab it in the face. Fucking deserves it. Low chaos is the way I play it to do the minimal playthroughs is don't be seen by an enemy and don't kill anyone. So it's a completely clean hands playthrough.
The pacifist.
Absolute pacifist playthrough. So yeah, you try not to be seen by any kind of soldier. The soldiers have 4 levels of awareness. You can't hit level 4. You can hit like 1, 2, or 3. You can't.
Sounds like an MGSM game.
Well, you can put this is the thing because you can choke people out.
Just MGS. Sorry,
Metal Gear Solid. Yes, yeah. You can choke people out, but if you leave them in certain spots, the rats will eat them, and that counts as a kill. And you're not allowed to kill. You're not allowed to kill anyone.
That's fantastic.
Yeah. So you got to place them on tables, or place them on beds, or place them
away from the rats.
Basically, because in the first game there's this massive rat plague, and so rats are killing everyone. And then in the second game it's less, but then they have a new enemy which is like these flying mosquitoes that burrow into people and burst them from the inside. Horribly graphic, but fantastic. Yeah, and playing through both games, very similar. They don't really change much in the style of gameplay. The only thing in the difference in the second one is you get to play as Corvo, who's the guy you play in the first one. You also get to play as his daughter, Emily, who's the Empress, who is a child in the first one. And she has different magical powers that you do through, if you accept the help from the, god of the game. And then... otherwise it's the only thing that this second one really improves on is the verticality of the gameplay. So there's a lot more higher spaces to go. And the enemies are roughly the same. They bring in a new style of enemy, which is can see back and forth. It's a robot that can see back and forth at times. So it's oh shit, if I need to be not spotted at all, how the fuck am I going to take this guy out? Because I can't just creep up from behind and stab it in the engine to stop it. Yeah. It's I have to be peering out from a bookcase here, throw a grenade and run around over here and throw a grenade over there and explode it. And it's so that was a lot more fun. And as someone who Pete can attest to is a bit of a Leroy Jenkins, just loves running in and blowing shit up. Weirdly found the stealth side of it so much more enjoyable to play. So yeah, playing through 1 and 2, you have to do the kill everyone, the pacifist run, and then there's another run you need to do, which is the no powers run. Mm-hmm. So you none of your god powers work, and the main one you use is a teleport. So if Pete's walking down his hallway and I'm there going fuck, he's going to catch me when he walks in here. I can go, oh, there's a bookcase. I'll teleport up to the bookcase on the top and then creep down and be like, no one's here, Pete. Don't look up. Don't look up. Yeah.
I've got to say that is one meta challenge trophy I would actually enjoy in a video game is your protagonist never gets seen by the bad guys.
Yeah, it's there's a lot of you get through a section, you go quick save and hope for the best. And then you check
a whole
your stats,
playthrough, never been seen or never hit the alarm, I would actually play that.
Oh, it's super enjoyable, really cool. And I really recommend it. And I think they're both on Plus
That's
Extra
an old,
at the moment.
Yeah, so that's an old Assassin's Creed or Thief playthrough.
Yeah.
It's
100%.
just never be seen by bad guys. Never raise the alarm once.
No, and
I like the old Thief games for that. You had to hide the bodies that you
and
dropped.
you can do that in this. You can pick up your bodies and put them out of the way, so there's never discovered and all that kind of thing. And it's like, but as someone who's never really been into that, it was a challenge, but also a really fun challenge. But I definitely enjoyed it more in the first one than I did the second one. I think I definitely enjoyed the story in the first one. The sequel story was kind of like basically a rehash from two different points of view.
Okay.
There's one fun mission where you lose your powers for story reasons, but you get the ability to like change time stances. So you get to move 3 years in the future or 3 years in the past. So if an enemy's coming towards you, you can just go boop, and then you're back in the past and walk past them, and then boop back into the time they're in and stab them in the neck.
Wow.
So that was kind of fun.
That's interesting.
Yeah, so platinum both of those. So that is platinum 97 and 98 on my journey to 100. So there's a DLC expansion for that based on one of the characters in 2. Oh, the voice cast. I have to talk about the voice cast. Yeah.
Does not count as 99. So what's 99?
No, it does. It's a full game. It's a
expansion.
Yeah, it's a 20-hour like campaign. You have to play it twice to go through it. Like,
yeah, right.
Yeah, it's actually like it's actually a full game.
It's got its own
expansion.
platinum.
Yeah, it does.
Fuck.
So yeah, no, that's why I'm counting it. Otherwise, it would have been Trek to Yomi, which is that side scroller samurai game that Dan and I talked about before.
Yep.
But the voice cast for both of these games, if I can rattle some names off. In number 1, Susan Sarandon just plays a random NPC, like a random NPC you deal with.
Yeah.
Carrie fucking Fisher,
Jesus,
plays a random announcer voice. I don't know where they got the fucking coin for that.
Yeah, fuck.
So this is the first game when it was like, Arcane Studios, which they've done some games and stuff, but I don't know where they got this. But the second one, so the main person you deal with is voiced by Rosario Dawson. The main villain, the second boss, like the second from the top boss, villain is Vincent D'Onofrio.
Jesus Christ.
It gets better. One of the other dudes you deal with who's like a significant character is Pedro Pascal. And then a bunch of the other like voices are like Michael Madsen's involved in one of them. Like I was like, holy fuck. Like looking through this IMDb list of voices.
Let's spend $1 million on unknown like video game voices.
Yeah. They got these names. And you can tell that also, you can tell Vincent D'Onofrio is literally practicing his Daredevil voice in this to be Kingpin. Like,
Kingpin, yeah.
Yeah. Pedro's just Pedro. Susan Sarandon is literally just a crazy Susan Sarandon. So that was great. Rosario Dawson like has such a main role that she's just like eases into it, and she knows that she's like a titular character. So yeah, it was really fun to find like, and you play that thing and you're like, is that Pedro Pascal? And you go, holy shit, it is Pedro Pascal. Holy shit, that's great.
That's crazy, man.
But yes, so I'm going to start the expand. I briefly started last night, but I was pretty tired and a little bit pissed by the time I started it and finished Dishonored 2. So I'll leave that, and then all roads lead to Skyrim, and I cannot wait. I'm now just like
for your 100th platinum.
100th platinum, and now I'm at that stage where I just really want to smash through this, Death of the Outsider expansion just so I can get to Skyrim. I'm so keen to play it. I can't wait for that first scene of just, oh, you're awake. Like, I love
Such a good fucking game, man. Such a good game.
So yeah, very excited. Can't wait. That'll be me, 100 plus hours in the next couple of weeks.
Yeah.
And I've got a week of leave coming up in the middle of that. So even better.
Even better. Nice. There's a couple of games coming up that I'm seriously considering whether or not to take a week off for.
Yeah.
Star Citizen is one.
Starfield.
Jesus! Why do I keep doing that?
Very different style of game.
They're all the same game. Star Citizen, Starfield, fucking Elite Dangerous.
Yeah. No.
Frontier. Is it Frontier?
Not the same style of game at all.
I know. Anyway.
You're confusing the plebs. Don't do that.
I think that's all I have to say for this episode. So I think that's where we're going to end.
Oh, so Starfield's the only game you're contemplating taking time off for, or were there more games to add to that list?
No, that is the only game that I'm
good.
seriously thinking of taking a week off for. Yeah.
Perfect.
It's the only thing coming up that I can really think of that I'm super excited for.
Spider-Man?
Yeah.
I'm excited for that because I get my big statue.
It's not the only game I'm excited for, but it's the only game I'm excited enough to take a week off for.
I mean, I think it's one of those unwritten rules with like a big RPG like that. You kind of need a week at the start. Like it should be like, people.
But if it promises the amount of
if a public holiday falls on the
and-
Tuesday, everyone's like, well, you might as well take the Monday.
Take the
It's
Monday.
like the same
Yeah,
thing.
don't be
Like,
a- yeah.
I think
Totally
it should be
agree.
the same thing with like a big RPG. Like, it's like, it comes out on the Thursday. Take an extra couple of days off.
Yeah,
You deserve it. You need it. Yeah.
I'm out for the Wednesday, the Friday, and probably the Monday.
Yeah.
Yeah.
100%.
Totally agree. I think that's the end of the episode.
I think
Tom.
that's us. That is us.
I think that is us.
Yep.
Grumpy Grandpa hasn't really. I don't think we've given him much reason to be shitty with us this episode. So
Oh, I'm sure we have. I'm sure it's the fact you keep calling him Grumpy Grandpa when he's not here is probably like
I think
the
that's
first
actually.
step. Yeah.
I think it's a really good new nickname for him. Just quietly. So we'll
Good
see what
old
he
Ginger
thinks.
Minja. Yeah, no, he's not here this week.
Did you say ninja or minja then? Because both work.
We'll never know.
Thank you very much for listening. If
Thank
you've
you
got
very
this
much.
far.
You have a good rest of your week.
Shorter episode.
Yeah. And,
Yes.
keep doing what you're doing. Keep being you.
That's it.
And enjoy
you do
good
you,
beer.
boo.
Enjoy
Yes.
good beer. That's the most important thing. Peace out, you fuckers.
Signing off.